Hey, hey, check, check, test 1, 2. All right. So if anybody's out there watching, what's up? I'm just gonna try this live streaming stuff out. It's lagging behind like a good 20 seconds. So, hey, we got 2 people now. So, what's up, y'all? I decided to hop on a live stream and we're gonna watch Tales from the Trip. So, I'm gonna see if there's like a couple more people that want to join, and then yeah, we'll chill and talk. Before we start that, I actually wanted to kind of talk about a recent mushroom trip that I had. Adjust my camera a little bit. All right, cool. So, yeah, I had a fucking crazy mushroom trip recently where I took 3 grams of penis envy. Why is this shaking so much? Oh, I had 3 grams of penis envy mushrooms. What's up, Ghost? And yeah, I'm still at the point where I'm just trying to process and just even reconcile the fact that stuff like that can happen to you as a human being, and it's still this life. Like, it just is so confounding to me that that's part of this life, what I just experienced. So, yo, Banana Leo. Let me switch this around. So, I took 3 grams of this penis envy mushroom, and it was lemon tech and some lemon juice. Let it sit for like 30 minutes. And then I was sitting down on the couch, like waiting for it to kick in. I took it with my roommate. We took the exact same dose, exact same strain. And I was like writing in my journal. And, I like to be scientific for as long as I can while like tripping. I'll like write notes and I'll have timestamps and I'll be like 8:15. Not feeling anything, but I'm thinking about this. And for this trip, it only lasted like an hour, like until it just totally, it just totally like I could not even think about writing like an hour into it. That's how like incapacitated and how hard I was tripping. Banana Leo, he said, no, you're hyping up for shroom season. Yeah. Well, I I mean, it's not all a walk in the park. That was something that, I'm sure you know this too, but like I was it was not easy whatsoever, and it was like it was so weird how it was like a mix of hard work and being recreational. You know what I mean? Like there is like a hedonistic aspect of taking mushrooms where you're relaxing, you're hanging out, um, and you're feeling good and pleasure, and a lot. Sometimes there's a lot of pleasure and euphoria, and so that can be very like recreational. But then there's also like this heaviness and like doing this hard personal work, and whether you want to or not, it's gonna like put you through the ringer. So I guess I just want to put that notion out there for anyone who might see this content and then be all excited, which you should be excited. But yeah, I want to emphasize that to anybody who wants to go really deep into this stuff, that it don't come easy. So anyway, about an hour into the trip, or like an hour into taking them, I started to feel it and I started to see things. And I was closing my eyes and listening to this like meditative track, this like audio. And well, I just started to see like it all came like barreling down all at once. I'm trying to think of the best way to describe this. Basically, for the first time in my life, I got like 3D DMT level visuals from mushrooms, and I've never done DMT before, so it was like a 3D holographic space in my mind, and I feel like I saw. Okay, the first thing that I saw, was like this alien. It was like a giant caterpillar or like an ant, some kind of insect with like 6 heads as its body. And it had these antennas. And they were like cosmic. I got the feeling that they were like some kind of cosmic antennas. And that this caterpillar was also huge. But then it wasn't just like a caterpillar I was looking at. I had the feeling that this was like the alien mothership of the mushroom. Like, you know, we talk about the mushroom as if it's this alien presence. Well, the mothership had freaking landed, and it was taking the form of this caterpillar, which was also a spaceship. and so I said it out loud to my roommate. I was like, oh man, and the loving alien mothership has landed. And boy, did it. So yeah, I started to see just these intense visuals, 3-dimensional. There was one thing I saw that looked like, I don't really listen to Spangle a lot, but there's the artwork for one of their songs that it looks like a little mushroom man like running. If you ever seen that, and I can probably pull that up, but yeah, it was like I was seeing this 3D kind of like sitting god that was like sitting in the corner of my mind, and it was the mushroom entity taking another form. And just all kinds of like dancing geometries and shapes, and it felt like I was in some kind of like domed room, which yeah, it's just really intense considering, you know, I've never had 3D visuals that were so creaturely, you know what I mean? Like I've had some crazy LSD visuals, but they're usually just geometric and light based, and this mushroom was like insectoid and fungal, and I got the cosmic space vibes again, man. Like I don't know if it's like this for everybody, but I got very cosmic vibes, like the feeling of being in space. And a lot of this trip actually felt like it took place in orbit around the Earth. Like that's the level of consciousness I was on. I was like flying around in orbit. Okay, so I saw the loving alien mothership caterpillar. That was first. Then I saw the Spangle art mushroom god entity sitting in the corner of my mind, just chilling there. And yeah, I continued to see some just amazing stuff. But I'll also throw in the caveat here that like part of me was being amazed by this experience and like what I was seeing, like holy shit, because you know when you haven't tripped in like 7 months and then you go instantly to start seeing stuff like this, it's like cool, you know, it's the ultimate novelty. But while I was like oohing and ahhing, there was something like heavy hitting my soul, and I honestly think it was my body like trying to hold on, like you know, the ego or the body will perceive a threat to itself, and so your body has built-in mechanisms to like run away or whatever, you know, like fight or flight. And I felt like the adrenaline rush was like a giant wall constricting on the inside of your body and soul. And I just felt like this heavy like pillar inside of my soul, like boom. And then it was like kind of freaky, you know. I was like, okay, this is where I need to remind myself that I'm okay, I'm safe. And I often found that my breathing was shallow whenever I would feel these like heavy moments. And so I remind myself to breathe. I said like, hey, I'm okay. I have my roommate here. He's also tripping. So that made me feel safe. And I had to like physically or like actually tell myself I was safe. And so it was like a battle, dude. This continued for the entire come up of the trip. It was this rough, like seeing amazing visions, but also it being like, okay, this is almost too much right now. And then like just going back and forth between this awe and wonder and also like this feeling of terror almost. And I experienced this the last time I took penis envy mushrooms, and it was an even smaller dose. This was double the dose of my last trip. So yeah, we put on an Alan Watts recording where he talked about psychedelics, and it's something that I heard the other day, and I feel like, you know, Alan Watts is always super spot on, especially when he talks about this stuff. And he talked about, you know, like the glorious light at the center of the universe from which we all radiate from and stuff like that. But to be honest with you, when I was listening to it, I was more just trying to show it to my roommate. And anyway, I was like way too caught up in my own experience to like even listen. And I was like more just trying to get through the battle of this section. So when things started to change from a battle into fun, it was actually interesting how it all played out. I feel like I was possessed by the mushroom. And I'll explain that in just a second. So we were listening to no music at first, or we were listening to this like meditation track, which is very like quiet, instrumental, but it's like not changing very much. So we get up to put on a record. There's a record player in the living room where we were tripping at. And I wanted to listen to this new album that I got called Dots and Loops by Stereolab. And I hadn't opened the album yet, and it's like a 4-disc like deluxe LP. So there's like all these different sides, and each disc has like 2 sides on the album. And so I tried opening it, and like even the font on like the Stereolab album is very alien and like hard to read. And when you're tripping like that, it's like, oh God. And then I put one on, and then it sounded so weird. Like I knew it wasn't right. And it turns out that like side E, which is like the backside of the 3rd disc, is like a remix side. So I was like, oh God. And there's something so hilarious about like struggling to put on this record, like being so intoxicated off mushrooms that you are like struggling with this basic task. And it just seemed so funny to me that I would start off with side E. There was something that was like, it just fit with the trip, you know, like that disjointed feeling of like, yeah, we're coming in straight from side E. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but basically it was just appropriate, and like it added to the confusion. So we finally get the record playing, and I noticed that I was walking around. Like up until this point, I was sitting in like a meditative position as the come up happened. But then I started walking, and I felt like I was walking around like a toddler. And I also had on this mushroom blanket that I have. It's like the Psyched Substance super soft tripping blanket. And you can wear it like a hood, and it's like a whole super soft blanket. It feels really good. And so I was like walking around with this thing, and I felt like a toddler, man. Like like in so many ways. For one, I was wearing this blanket, which just made me feel like a little kid in my room, like wearing a blanket. And and I was also stumbling, like one of the things that happens when you're tripping at high doses is like you lose your kind of space-time coordination. So I felt like that was happening. So like instead of taking full steps, I was just kind of like waddling around the living room and taking like tiny steps. And something about this reminded me of just being a toddler, like learning to walk. But here's the thing, I was getting the impression that the mushroom was using me. It was like, I've talked about this idea with some friends, like when you're tripping on mushrooms or when you smoke cannabis, it's like you're getting to see the consciousness of whatever plant you're consuming. So like when you smoke, you're seeing like cannabis consciousness. When you trip, you're kind of like viewing eyes as if you're a mushroom. So I felt like the opposite of that was happening, where I was tripping so hard that the mushroom was using me as a vehicle to try out what it's like to be a people. The mushroom was peopling through me. And so that's why it felt like I was walking around like a toddler. It was like the mushroom was hijacked my nervous system, and it was like, oh, let's try this out. Look, I'm a human. Look, ha ha ha, I can walk around. And it was so funny feeling. And I like picked up on that. I was like, I feel like the mushroom is using me, because I didn't choose to like get up and walk. It just kind of like, it felt like I was possessed. So the song that was playing was the first like song of this album, and then the music was just a vibe, and I felt like I started to strut, kind of like, because the music had this cool like theme song. It was like the kind of stuff you want to play like as you're like strutting around town and like feeling cool. And so I started to like, this toddler wobble that I was walking around like started to turn into this strut, and it was like, oh yeah. And I started feeling good and like feeling better. And then eventually I felt like I was starting to flow. I was starting to move around and like dance. And the tripping blanket has these like little pockets. Like you can put your hands on the inside in these pockets. So I was just flowing with the music and like vibing out. And I don't really dance, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'll like move to music or whatever, but I don't really fully commit to dancing or doing any kind of flow activities. But I've always kind of like felt the urge to do it. And then it was just like full force, like flowing and dancing with this music. And I just felt like so receptive and open to it. And then I just started to get that euphoria, and the music sounded amazing. And so I was just like feeling really good. And then this dance turned into this like confident strut where I was like walking around, and I felt like, I have kind of a lanky body. So when I was like doing my dance, I was imagining like Snoop Dogg. If you've ever seen Snoop like, dancing and like hitting the blunt, he's kind of a lanky guy too. So I feel like I was like thinking of a super psychedelic version of like Snoop Dogg like dancing in his studio. And so I was doing that, and then it made me want to smoke weed, right? Because Snoop. And so I had the pipe, and then it's this cool like water pipe, and it looked like this crazy like prop to have holding around. And then we're just joking around and dancing, and my roommate who was tripping with me was watching me like do this flow dance, and like he was feeling good too, and I think he was kind of like mesmerized in that moment. And but it felt like a victory dance. Like there was something tribal about it. Snoop Doggy Dogg. Yeah, there was something tribal about this victory dance that I was doing. It was like, imagine, a tribe dancing around the fire like after they won the battle. There's something like very, very human about that we don't really do in our modern society. And so this victory dance felt like I was celebrating the fact that I had just come back from this tour. And this album that we were listening to was one of the records I bought at a store on tour. So it felt like I was capping off like this moment in my life. And it was like I was dancing to this object of sound, that was like a talisman of my travels. And it just felt amazing. And then I was just reflecting on it. I was like, we got to take our victories in life, man. Like, this is something we don't often reflect to do. And it just felt really good. And yeah, everything up until that point, the trip was really difficult. And like, it was not coming easily, even though I was amazed by the visuals. So yeah, we kept listening to the music and I kept dancing and like doing all these interpretive moves. And like, I'm going to make a trip report about this where I'll like have gathered my thoughts and I'll even like reenact some of the dancing and like how everything looked. And the music was giving me these insane visuals. So for those of you who were not in here earlier, one of the first visuals I had on this trip was I saw this like mothership alien caterpillar thing that was like this huge spaceship, but also like a giant space caterpillar. And what actually happened like an hour into it, like during the peak, is the music was giving me these beautiful visuals of like butterfly wings. So what I saw when I closed my eyes was like butterfly wing designs, but imagine it's like blue and black, and it also has eyes in it, and it's also watercolor. Like, imagine a butterfly pattern painted with watercolor and blue and black, but also running through like a kaleidoscopic lens with eyes. That's what I saw. And I just put it together afterwards that like I might have gone through a transformation, like from the caterpillar to the butterfly within this experience. And yeah, just something about doing this dance felt so cathartic. Like I was releasing something. I was releasing the weight that I've been carrying, and it just felt so good. It was like true healing. And then the music just sounded so good, man. Like, that was literally how I said it. It just sounded so good. Like, it sounded like the music was God, and that the singer of Stereolab was this shaman goddess, like singing in the waterfall and like conjuring spirits and conjuring like the divinity of humanity. And that was one of the other things that I really thought about too. I was like, humans are divine, and like the music and the art we create is proof of that. And especially in these states of open consciousness, you can appreciate what like art people can create and what music we can create. And we all have that inherent ability within us. What's up, Jake? I just saw. Yeah, you're good, man. We should talk again soon, Jake, and I'm gonna do this live stream stuff more often, man. This is more like just kind of a test run, getting it going. So yeah, one of the things, I had this like impassioned speech because of this realization of humans having this divine spark. I was like, dude, we have to protect this. Like, the idea that we could throw away the divine spark of humanity by like destroying ourselves, the idea that we could even allow that is preposterous. It is absolutely absurd. And so we need to protect this divine spark of humanity no matter what. Like, it is as serious as life or death for our species. And it's something so beautiful. Like, we should be motivated to protect that. And yeah, I just felt super strongly about this, and I like gave a little speech, and it just felt so good, man, to trip in my home. And I haven't always had a place where I felt comfortable to do this, so it just felt awesome, like freedom. and it felt like this mushroom blanket that I was wearing was like my freak flag. It's like, this is my flag. It's covered in mushrooms. This represents, whatever team I'm on. Oh yeah, Jake, I'm super down to do a live stream together. That sounds fun. I'm gonna hop in the Discord in a little bit, and if anybody wants to do that, we'll do like a little video and voice chat. But yeah, so that's the majority of like the highlights of the trip. I did have another activity planned for us today. I want to watch Tales of the Trip with you guys and see some that I haven't watched before and just kind of react to them. So let's do that. I'm going to go ahead and pull that up. But how is everybody else doing? Here we go.
We took a hot.
All right, hoping everyone can see that. Let's hit this pin real quick. All right, here we go. Tales from the Trip. This one is Alex and Allison Gray melted into the universal mind lattice on LSD. What's up, L3X? Thanks for coming in. All right, here we go. Alex and Allison Gray.
High dose LSD journey basically melted into the universal mind lattice.
The vast vistas of blowholes and suckholes.
Whoa, okay, already I've had experiences like that of seeing like a fabric of space-time where like stuff was getting sucked in and blown out. That's crazy. Okay, let's keep going. I'll try not to pause too much.
Hi, I'm Alex Gray,
I'm Allison Gray.
and this is the story of how we met God on LSD.
And how it gave us our purpose in life. When I was 19, I read the book Be Here Now by Ram Dass. It was suggested to me that I try taking LSD in a unique way, a way I had not tried before, and that was in my dark, tiny little bedroom by myself. And that was when I saw secret writing wafting through the air, infinite symbols that were ineffable and untranslatable. I remember thinking, this is what people call God, and I had never known God. From then on, I couldn't not know God. I couldn't unknow God.
In 19...
So that's a very important thing to point out whenever you hear someone like Alex and Allison Gray. They use the word God very comfortably, and I know a lot of us are not as comfortable with blatantly like naming God because of all of the like baggage it has and, you know, associations with Skyfather. But yeah, secret alien psychedelic Hebrew is not what people usually think of as God, but that's a very interesting aspect of psychedelics is the language, alien language stuff.
1975, I was 21 years old and a deeply depressed art student. And on the last day of art school, I was saying a prayer to a God I really didn't believe existed to show me a sign that I shouldn't kill myself, basically. Later that afternoon, school was letting out and I was saying goodbye to my art professor on a street corner. And around the corner comes Allison in a little yellow VW and rolls down her window and invites us to a party that's happening at her place later that night. That night, I had my first LSD journey on her couch. Behind closed eyes, I was going through a pearlescent spiralic tunnel. And I was in the darkest dark, but I was heading toward the light. The light was divine love and wisdom and all the answers to all my questions. God was answering my prayer. I saw that all these shades of gray connected the dark and the light. And I decided to change my name based on that experience because that's what I wanted to do with my art, bring the opposites together. I called you the next day to find out about her experience, and we got together that night. Basically, we've been together ever since. That was 47 years ago.
That's right, we never left. You know, were the first person that I could really talk to about this sort of God contact, because you expressed that to me almost immediately, and I had never told anybody what secret writing was about, and yet I was doing it in my artwork.
I recognized it in your work.
And you knew that it was spiritually and psychedelically related, and you encouraged me.
See, that's a great example of finding the others, and in this case, they found their whole soulmate. Now they're just this incredible visionary art duo.
To make it the core of my work, one of the main elements of my work, which it has been for all these 47 years.
About a year later, we had moved into a loft together and built a loft, and we took a high-dose LSD journey and basically melted into the universal mind lattice. Our bodies had dissolved into these toroidal fountains and drains of light. We were interconnected with every other being in the universe. It was beyond birth and death, gender and race. It was outside of time.
I like to call it the vast vistas of blowholes and suckholes. We knew that this was the most important subject to make our art about, and it changed our work from that moment on, because we were making drawings that were so similar that we realized that we had seen and been in the same place, even though we both knew that the other was there.
Okay, that is something that is crazy, that I have not yet experienced such a vivid, similarity between two trips, but I imagine that the higher doses you go, the more likely it is that things like that can happen. Like in the mushroom trip that I was talking about earlier, me and Kenny, my roommate, both saw like this caterpillar being, so there's something there.
Alex started to
make a series of paintings based on this whole subject, body, mind, and spirit of an individual.
And it took you, 10 years to do the whole series. A major collector became interested in buying the work, but he also became our friend, and he gave us 2 doses of MDMA.
So we had our first MDMA journey. We both saw a chapel that the sacred mirrors were supposed to be in. We realized we couldn't sell them to this collector, that we had to create a chapel of sacred mirrors to house this spiritual message.
And we, attracted people who want to talk about their sacred stories and their mystical stories and their ecstatic voyages.
So we're very excited. We're getting ready to open, and we hope that people will make a journey up to see the Chapel of Sacred Mirrors.
Yeah.
Doesn't this all feel like a dream? Like, when you really think about it, and we almost get used to talking about how amazing these things are, to the point where it never loses its meaning. But I guess just from having this recent encounter with something so baffling and majestic, that it's just so surreal. Oh, I left my tea. Oh, I'll be right back, guys. Well, whoops. I totally left my tea, my Blue Lotus tea, which was supposed to be a whole part of this stream. And yeah, I left it on the stove for 30 minutes. So thank God there's not a fire right now. because I started to smell something. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, it like all the water is gone, so it's just like leaves now. So, whoops. All right, let's continue.
And as soon as you try to control something as intense as DMT, it is going to heat you up and spit you out. But you know, I was younger, I was stupid, I thought I'm going to face this and see what happens. Hello everybody, my name is Adam, I am from Psych Substance, and this is the story of the time I did DMT while on acid. I was going through a period where I was absolutely terrified of DMT. And usually when people are afraid of something, that's their message to back off and stop doing it. But I had a different approach. You see, I was painfully sad that what I found so much value in was now repelling me away from it. And I wanted more than anything else to face this fear because I wanted to continue having these mind-expanding, life-changing experiences. And this fear was in the way of me advancing my personal growth. Now, I had come up with a strategy. My friend was having a gathering and it was a beautiful location. He was having a bunch of us over for an acid trip. I'm there, we'd all taken the acid. I started to work up the courage to smoke the DMT. The fear is so intense because it feels like you are facing your own death. And I had this idea that the best way to face the fear was to quite literally face my reflection, because I was afraid of myself, in the mirror while I did it. What if in order to face it, I have to remain conscious during this experience? Now, all signs pointed to this being an absolutely dreadfully terrible fucking idea. Because if you try to force yourself to stay awake, that's in essence trying to control the experience, and as soon as you try to control something as intense as DMT, it is going to heat you up and spit you out. But you know, I was younger, I was stupid, I thought I'm going to face this and see what happens. So I went in front of the mirror, I was like, all right man, here we go, it's now or never, let's just do this. Lit it up, so took another big hit, immediately started to hear this buzzing sound. And that is the signal that you're about to get carried away.
Okay, has anyone experienced the buzzing sound? I have yet to experience anything like that, but I also haven't tried DMT yet. So, have you?
I'm trying to hold with all of my energy, my eyelids open, because they just wanted to shut. I wanted to just get knocked over and get thrown unconscious, but somehow I managed to fight this as I'm watching my reflection when I didn't think I could hold it anymore, and then all of a sudden it was like, and my eyelids were jammed open. But I saw my face. It started to tug around the edges and start wiggle like this, like it went like, and it started to shrink into a gray little ball. It was this floating sphere. A literal jaw out of the ball drops down, a forehead explodes out, cheeks form, and in front of me is a polygonal face. Have you ever seen PS1 or PS2 graphics? Almost like Egyptian, like it had like a reverse triangle, upside down triangle, forehead. And then before I could blink again.
Dude, what is going on with that? I've also had visions that reminded me of like PS1 graphics. Dude, what could be going on there? That is so interesting.
The head starts to morph. It just starts shifting into different faces, humans, animals, big fat guys, small guys, young people, babies. It was like a character select screen in a video game. It just kept switching so fast you could barely make out any one change. And I'm just looking at this and I'm blown away. I don't know what to think. And then again, before I could even stop to think, on my own face, it's back to my reflection. I'm like, oh good, okay. I recognize that guy, that's me, he's back. This was the breaking point, and this is the part that blew me to the ground. Teeth erupted, sweeping across my pores, scales leapt out, and I'm looking at myself now, and I looked like, I shit you not, a reptile. Like what would happen if a velociraptor evolved into like a humanoid? And I had this really weird feeling wash over me, like, oh my God, it all makes sense. But at the time it felt like,
I wonder what's up with that too. I've actually had that experience from weed, where I smoked so much weed and I looked at my eyes and I saw how red they were, and I was like, dude, I'm a reptile. And there might be something about getting so blasted that it like reduces you to your reptile brain, because you know the brain is like built upon all the previous levels of evolution. So you know, the ego is one of the more recent evolutions. So maybe once you dig and dig, beyond the ego, you get down to the lizard brain, and then maybe there's some kind of synesthesia effect where you can see that when you're tripping. I don't know, man. That's weird. So yeah, what's up, Eli? Everybody, thanks for hopping in. We're just chilling and watching Tales of the Trip. I was supposed to drink Blue Lotus in this stream, but I forgot about it on the stove, and it's no longer with us. So, but yeah. Hey Tyler, would you ever try DMT if you haven't? Yeah, I have a friend who I usually get down to Wizard Brain. Hey yo, I like that. Nice. What's up, Gary? Hey man, I love you, dude. You're a real one as well. I appreciate you coming through. Yeah, to answer the other question, would you ever try DMT? Yeah, for sure. I've been scared of it for a really long time, especially as I go longer without tripping, and then it feels like just this huge daunting thing. But in this recent mushroom trip, I experienced what I perceived as like close to DMT visuals. It was like a 3D space. I saw these entity kind of things. There was very little interaction, and the entities, I wouldn't even really call them that, but they were being like apparatus in front of me. And so after having that experience, I think I'm ready for DMT, man. I think I'm ready for it. I have a friend who does it, and he's offered it to me. I even have another friend who gave me 5-MeO DMT that's just chilling in my drawer right now. But like, to me, that's the final boss. So I'm like waiting on that. But yeah, I would definitely try it. Someday you'll be on Tales of the Trip. Yeah, I know a couple stories that I would tell, man. Yeah, dude, that would be cool. I would honestly be super down to do that. It says, hi, Ellie, English pronunciation. Oh, okay, Ellie. Cool. All right, let's keep going with this video.
This was the perfect explanation for everything that I needed to know. It was like the answers to the universe were, we're all reptiles. And as soon as I got this, a sense of calm washed over me, and I felt like I had gotten and learned exactly what I needed to learn. And I had this voice that was like, you can let go now. And I just immediately closed my eyes and just dropped. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta tell them what happened. My friend, he's going like this, he's pacing around like, oh my God, Adam's dead. And he looks at me, this just relief washes over, he's like, oh, you're okay. And what he says to me was, did you find what you were looking for? So I burst out into maniacal laughter. I was like, oh my God, find what I was looking for. I fell to the ground laughing. How do you encapsulate everything, all the feelings that I was just injected with into like a response using language? It is so challenging.
Yeah.
There's no translation. Like, yes, I can say, oh, I turn into a reptile, I'm in a simulation. But to convey that in a way that he's going to understand, I think is near impossible. It's the kind of thing where you have to be in the experience to really extract the value from it. The next day, I was driving to the gym to do my workout, and as I was driving, I burst out in tears and I was crying because it was like, I finally figured it out. The answer that I was looking for was, we are in a simulation. Because it looked like I was looking at video game graphics. I looked like a polygonal character, a fucking character select screen like in a Street Fighter video game. To me, that was proof that this entire world is nothing but a simulated reality, and I had gotten my proof, and it was both beautiful and terrifying at the same time, because it was like, I felt like I didn't have anything to be afraid of anymore, because it's just a simulation. When I die, I'll wake up and I'll be the real me, the reptile.
Tales from the
Oh God. Is that what's happening underneath everything? Oh my gosh. Yeah, I don't know, man. The simulation thing, I'm open to it, but like, it just makes me wonder, like, when you say simulation, it makes you think that there's some kind of like objective computer room that exists outside of our typical dimension, and that someone must have created that simulation. There must be some hyper intelligent beings that got there first, but that's kind of like the same thing as like, okay, if God created everything, then who created God? If everything's a simulation, then who created the simulation? Or is it showing us our own consciousness in the sense that like everybody is in a pocket universe of their own creation? Like everything you see and feel and measure outside of you in reality is also a hallucination that your brain has assembled in the form of like a hologram. Like everything you see right now, it looks like the outside space, but it's all inside. And I'm like tripping myself out thinking about this right now. So I don't know, man. Yeah, it could be a simulation in that sense. That's what I'm trying to say. Like that our brain is just creating this like video game version of reality. And then that also lends to the Aldous Huxley idea of like that this simulation is usually like a faucet that can open or close, and most of the time our faucet is closed to where the water or the information flowing through this simulation, the water is less, the information is less at the baseline level. And there's obviously reasons for that, so we can survive it. A lot of people have heard these ideas get talked about a lot, and I don't really have strong opinions about any of this, but I like to just wonder and think about the most far out possibility out of all of those. So what's up, DN Modular? Just watching Tales of the Trip. Yeah, I was going to try to go to this Eric Davis meetup thing that's in like 10 minutes, but like I'm having fun and, there's people. So I think I'm just going to keep going. And then in a little bit, I'll hop in the Discord server video and voice chat. So if you guys want to just talk on there and it'll still be part of the stream and stuff, we can do that because, yeah, I'm having fun. Altrix, you said, what if it's just like Mandelbrot? We may become advanced enough one day and create the next simulation. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the idea that it just like keeps going. There's multiple levels of, simulation creates another simulation, and then, it keeps going down. So, yeah, I don't know. Wait, I don't recognize this video. This isn't part of my playlist, is it? Yeah, what the heck? Okay. Well, pause on that. Let's go ahead and hop in the Discord. I'm gonna pull up the link and then put it in the chat just in case some of you aren't already in the Discord. Let me send an invite to the chat. Okay, links in the chat. Feel free to hop in, guys. No pressure on anything. We're just literally hanging out. Alright, I'm in the Discord. If I could do both at once, I would hop in Discord. I only have my phone, though. Okay. Well, my camera and my video are also linked up to the Discord right now. So if you hopped in the Discord, it would still be the same thing. And then this stream is also going to be like recorded for later, just in case something happens. But basically, if you wanted to switch to the Discord instead, I think it would be the same thing for you, basically. So, okay, I'm going to also switch to where there's not a double camera. Boom. All right, we got anyone? Yeah, also you can use the the text chat. We've got someone in here. So yeah, once you're in the Discord, just hop in the video, the voice chat, and you don't have to use video necessarily. Just if you want to hop in the voice. Still don't got anyone in here yet. But yeah, I'm going to try to start doing this more because I just set up OBS. I don't know if any of you stream or like game or anything of that, but now I know how to do stuff like this, all the screen sharing and, integrating the Discord server. So, yeah, should be cool. Feel free to hop in. If anybody recently jumped in the stream, we're going to chill and hang in the Discord. Link is in the chat, yo. Yeah, I would really recommend that you guys try go into one of these Eric Davis meetups. Eric Davis is an author. Hey, we got someone. What's up? Yo, can you hear me? Oh, lost him. Yeah, Eric Davis is an author. He was also the person that gave Terrence McKenna his last interview, which was really interesting. And like, they did the first half of the interview totally sober, and then the second half they did it like super stoned. So legendary guy. Eric Davis is brilliant himself. And I consider him like a mentor in a lot of ways, even though he doesn't directly like mentor me. I feel like I like his perspective, and it seems to make sense to me in the way that a lot of people don't. And, you got to be super careful when you're looking for like ideas to kind of like live by, right? So he's always emphasized like the idea of the trapeze walk, like everything is such not just a balance of opposites, but oftentimes like an incredibly hard balance to actually pull off, like the balance of being skeptical versus being open-minded. So yeah, it is what it is. Yo, Banana Leo, don't worry if you feel anxious. I totally understand that there's almost like a performance aspect to it. It feels like you're going to be like being looked at and stuff, but I wish I could like magically make that feeling disappear, because really, I just want to hang. But at the same time, you are totally welcome to just, use the chat, use the text. So that's equally valid for sure. So, well, I guess while we're waiting for the Discord, let me know what your thoughts are right now, like in the chat. If you have any like thoughts or like ideas or questions or anything, let's shoot the shite. Yeah, Altrix, don't worry about it, man. Yeah, I am a little bummed that the tea didn't work out, but I love Blue Lotus tea.
Oh, hello.
Hey, what's up? Who we got? DN Modular. What up, man?
Hey, dude.
Welcome.
Do I sound all right?
Yeah, it sounds nice and clear.
Cool.
What's up? What you up to?
I'm just packing because I'm going to be moving soon.
Oh, really? Nice. You moving far?
Not too far.
Okay. Yeah. Well, when do you move?
The 23rd is the last day,
Nice.
and I got some moving stress, so it's like, ugh.
Yeah, I understand. Well, yeah. You have any experiences lately?
Yeah, like yesterday, I like accidentally took too large of a hit. I always mess up,
Mm,
but I definitely got some visuals, and it was like I'm pretty sure I started panicking like for a moment, like just like, oh,
a hit
this
of
is going
what?
on. Um, just some weed.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
that can do it too, man.
it was hilarious. It's like great.
Yeah, right. I mean, did you have anything to do, or were you able to like chill and like ride it
I
out?
was able to chill, and my cousin
Okay.
was there. It was great. Like the setting at least was great.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, have you ever like legitimately freaked out from weed?
Oh yeah, like a little bit ago. Yes, I did. I got a little panic attack.
Mm.
Very interesting. I've never had that before, but I just got like some conspiratorial type of thoughts. I think that's what did it.
Mm.
Because I felt
Mhm.
pretty lucid.
Mhm. Yeah, that's interesting, right? Like when you feel anxious or paranoid, a lot of the time it's like your mind itself, your conscious mind actually feels super calm. You know what I mean? Like you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not freaking out, but my body is like, what is
Yes.
going on?
Uh huh.
And yeah, the last time I freaked out, like two the only times I've ever freaked out have always been from edibles, man. And it's like uh the last time I took edibles, I was like obviously so stoned and like my eyes were obviously red. So I feel like the dog could tell, like the dog, my friend's dog who I was like living with, is
Ah.
like this little chihuahua. And he started like looking at me and like growling like he didn't trust me. And he was like looking at me like I was a demon. And then,
Yeah, you tapped into your wavelength or something.
yeah, but he's also like got a little reefer madness, it's unjustified.
Yeah, true.
and
True.
uh and uh and so I was like, oh my god, like am I some evil, is
Oh
you know
yeah.
what I mean, that like sense of like fear and evilness was like reflecting
Uh
back to me,
huh.
and that sent me off in a spiral like completely from there. And then I just started
Oh
having all of these like, it was one of those times. This will also happen when I just get too high, is like you'll cringe at yourself in every like
yeah.
possible aspect. And that was happening to me. It often has to do with like if I posted something on social media that day, I'll like be high and then I'll be like, oh god, like take it
Oh,
all
that's
off,
funny.
you know. And so that feeling just gets amplified. And I actually had to call my friend who helped me calm down. But yeah,
Oh, that's
it was
great.
nuts. Yeah,
There you go. All right.
yeah. So, are you still on the YouTube stream, or are you just on this right now?
Yeah. If I have the YouTube stream on, I'll just mute you on there. Actually, I think that'll work.
Oh, okay, cool. No. It
There we
wasn't a
go.
problem. I was just curious because I was seeing some stuff in the chat like Banana Leo, being honest with others and yourself is a good start. Someday I'll overcome the anxiety in social situations. The feeling is just awful though. Feels like nothing can help. Yeah, I get that. I've felt that a lot. But one of the best remedies for me has been actually finding something that you are like so excited about that it's actually easy to talk about that, because you don't have to think about what to say. Small talk with a stranger or like even friends can be like, you can feel anxious about that. But for me, I guess if I like have something I'm excited to talk about, it makes it less so. But also like at the same time, even in those situations, I can still get nervous when there's like a platform to it, like how there is kind of now. Like Eric Davis, he'll like do the meditation and his talk, and they're amazing, and then afterwards he'll open it up to Q&A. And I've asked him a question like 5 or 6 times, but every time I do, my heart starts like pounding, and I feel so nervous, and I feel like I'm bumbling and I don't make sense. And so I think it's exposure therapy is what you need. Like, just put yourself out of your comfort zone and just keep trying, even though it's going to feel like, ah. And another thing happened to me today where I was going to have to tell someone some bad news, and I was like so afraid to tell them because I was afraid of their reaction. And like when I sent the message, my heart was like pounding. I was like, oh, they're going to freak out. And then when they replied, they were like, oh, it's fine. You know, like I didn't need that stuff anyway. I was like, oh, like I just got all in my head for nothing. So it's crazy how powerful our minds are, like freaking ourselves out. And yeah, for in the meantime, Banana Leo, you can just use the text in the chat.
Oh. Yeah, I have some of that too.
Yeah, I totally get it. I just want to emphasize for anyone, like anyone else can also hop in this Discord voice chat we got. The link is in the chat. And I just want to emphasize that there's no like pressure. It's just hanging out. Like we're just in like as if we're in a Discord and it's not streaming. I know the streaming adds that like edge to it, but I just want to like help comfort you guys, you know, that it's all good. It's all good. We're just hanging out. But Ellie, gotta go. I'll check out the video another time. Bye. All right. Thanks for coming through. Yeah, so what else is up?
Hey, you like mentioned the faucet or something like running water.
Mm-hmm.
What was that? What was that relating to again?
Aldous Huxley had the idea of like the mind is a faucet, and basically like the idea is that psychedelics open up the faucet to where more information is flowing through, you know, which can be represented as like the water going through the faucet. But it's basically like our mind is closing off a lot more information than what is really going on right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know it's hard to kind of like explain it in one swoop.
No, that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Can I share like my idea of the faucet?
Sure.
All right, so like it's kind of like childbirth when I think about it.
Mm.
And so like you have the two components, and then when they come together, that's like your hands are now catching, you know. The instant that together, catching the water from the faucet.
Oh, okay. I think I see what you're saying.
You know.
So when
once
your
the egg
hands
gets fertilized.
Wait. Okay, say that one more time. I don't want to make sure I get it.
All right, so before a baby is born or whatever starts being made, you have the two components, right? You got the egg and then the fertilizer.
Yeah.
And so once they come together, that's like your hands coming together under a faucet to catch the water, you know?
Oh, okay. Cool.
And then the vessel is now being constructed to catch more and more water.
Nice. Yeah, I like that idea.
So like I feel like it almost kind of like went in tandem with what you were mentioning earlier.
Yeah, definitely. And but it seems like at a certain point the faucet closes off, like
yeah.
Especially you know, I'm sure if any of us could go back in time, or like if we could experience what it's like to be a 2-year-old baby or even younger, that shit would probably be so trippy, you know? Like one of my first psychedelic experiences that was totally sober was I saw a butterfly hatch. I saw it like go from caterpillar. It was like part of this thing they did in my school in 3rd grade. And when I saw the caterpillar hatch into a butterfly, it was just like the shiny, like glorious eternal light represented in this beautiful creature that was like, I was like totally in the moment. I was in the present moment. This butterfly was this shining, like eternal thing. And I had no words for that. You know, I was like a 9-year-old kid, but I realize now that that is like what the open faucet of our consciousness like can be like when it's open all the way. It's like this, we see the eternal in everything. So yeah, I don't know. There's something there. There's
Yeah,
something
that's
to
pretty
it.
wild. Yeah.
Yeah, and the butterfly is such a good like representation of transformation. You know what I mean? Because caterpillar, it's just this little chunky green like worm basically, and then it turns into this epic like art piece that can soar in the sky. Like that's a journey for sure.
Fun.
Yo.
I tried to type it on YouTube and it cut me off with the character count.
Oh really? You had some thoughts about that?
Yeah, man. Hold on. I just copy pasted it. Where's the text channel for the voice channel?
If you go to the top, it's
I
general.
can just toss it in general. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh wait, can we add a text to this? Okay.
I had no idea,
We'll
dude.
just go check. Yeah.
When you hit your pen, I had a nice little cheers to that. I've been hitting my flower vaporizer.
Nice. Yeah, let's do it again, man. Cheers, cheers.
Cheers, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, what you said, I pretty much agree with it. Yeah, like it makes sense though that the faucet would close for survival's sake, right? Like if we were tripping out all the time, we wouldn't do very well in the Darwin Olympics.
Yeah, that's right. Because the constraints of your mind, like, give you, while it takes away so much things, like it gives you so much to do within those constraints.
Yeah, that's true. And then Alan Watts, he likes to call it like a game of hide and seek, you know, like recognizing that this other consciousness is here, but also on the flip side of that same coin is standard consciousness, you know, like baseline consciousness. And it's kind of like hide and seek in the way that it's like we forget about it. When you're like not tripping for like a year, you can get pretty like caught up in life, you know. You can just start to believe in this the firmness of this reality.
For real.
But
I think
then
very much the vice versa too. You can get lost in the other side.
yeah. Yeah,
Lost in the sauce, as Dennis McKenna put it.
Yeah, no, getting lost in the sauce is a total possibility at all times. But I think that spacing out the trips is probably the best way to avoid it. But a lot of us, when we start taking psychedelics, nobody's telling us like, you know, what a good pace looks like or whatever. And so have either of you like felt like you almost got lost in the sauce or did, and then you came back?
I mean, I totally did.
I'll let you go first.
At least, like, it was just scary. Is that what getting lost in the sauce is?
Well, I guess I mean like lost in the sauce. What I think is that even when you come down from your trips because of like how crazy things were, it like you start to like get kind of lost in your head, and like your imagination's just like a little too potent, and it's kind of like messing with your life in a way.
I mean, my friends have brought something up. Like, I'm just a little bit too thought experimenty lately. Like, I've just been like, you know, the ship of Theseus? Just like, if you have a boat and then over time, if you replace all the planks, is it the same boat that you had initially?
Yeah.
I've just been like getting on like all these thought experiments, and like they've been noticing, so I think it's coming back with me a little bit, at least.
Well, that doesn't sound unhealthy. You know, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that would be considered lost in the sauce. Okay, but you might have had something come to mind when you were thinking of like an individual trip. Was there a time where, yeah, in one trip you felt like, oh, dude, I'm lost in the sauce?
I mean, I was definitely gone at some point. I remember that I stopped blacking out, like I just like regained consciousness almost. But you know what? I think Altrix, you must have a better Lost in the Sauce story.
I was just didn't want to cut you off.
Yeah, go ahead,
The
man.
the lost in the sauce thing, I would say, like basically you touched on it right at the start. I think when everyone first starts taking psychedelics, or at least even cannabis, if you want to lump that into that category, if they have no one telling them, you're like, yo, take it slow. That maybe they can easily go into patterns of use that are too often, or that sort of thing. Getting lost and doing it too often, their thought patterns may become like I've had some friends that have kind of got it like the conspiracy theories route and all that, and getting lost in the sauce in the sense of like what their life revolves around tripping or the substance or whatever. But I would say using it often, I found in my own personal experience, having started just with cannabis and then moved up to mushrooms, and that peaked into an LSD experience where it almost felt like whether the entities are generated in your mind or through something else, that it almost leads you to an experience that you can only get so lost in the sauce before you're redirected back to reality. Almost like how would you say this? Like a hyper slap, I think, is the best term to put it. Like
A
almost.
hyper stomp?
Yeah, I think that a lot of these substances, especially psychedelics, have a tendency to, like you said, get people lured in, or that it excites them with a new possibility or something that they haven't experienced before. But if you use it too often, very quickly, that substance or the spirit of, I'm pretty fond, I guess, in saying the hippie woo-woo type stuff of the spirit of the plant, whether it be cannabis or spirit of the fungus, if it's the mushroom or something, that the experience almost directs you back out of, you can't abuse these things because through their own divinity, they almost produce an experience that will shake you and get you out of that. I think Dennis McKenna, that's who I quoted saying lost in the sauce. He was referring to Terrence, saying how Terrence, I think it was during the La Torera thing, how Terrence was lost in the sauce, quote unquote. I don't know if I'm saying this or paraphrasing it right, but the whole the time experiment that he'd kind of come up with, that we'd been taking mushrooms for so long, he says basically that we were lost in the sauce.
Yeah.
I think they had a really scary experience that brought them back to reality, almost, that like shook them, and they were like, whoa.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like that journey of like getting lost in the sauce and then being redirected back is how a lot of us like kind of end up. But the point I want to make is that it doesn't always recover for everybody, though. You know what I mean? There's people who really just, they go off, and then there needs to be a new term for like irredeemably lost in the sauce, like where because you can swim out of the sauce sometimes, but what is it called when you're forever stuck in the sauce? It's like quicksand sauce.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who's permanently stuck taking or like a habitual cycle of taking psychedelics where they never like leave that space, I guess. Like you said, it would be highly unproficient to daily survival needs if you were constantly lost in the sauce.
Yeah, exactly. Even like HPPD. I remember when I was tripping a
Yeah.
lot, I had that pretty bad actually, where I was
Wow.
where I was still like hallucinating. I was seeing tracers. Like if I would just get
Mm-hmm.
stoned, and it was weird. It happened
Oh,
to me when
that's different though.
yeah. Well, I feel like it could go into the survival thing of like yeah, I'm just using it as kind of an adjacent example, not exactly the same, but like just the idea of HPPD being this lingering thing that stays with you after the trip.
Yeah.
So could the like psychological version of HPPD like stay with you and kind of distort like
Yeah,
um
I see what you're saying.
or just seeing how like HPPD itself, just the visuals, it's like not a good survival tool. You know what I mean? Like if you're trying to hunt an animal and then you see like a tracer off of it, like does that make you worse at hunting and therefore surviving? I don't know. Like
It'd be hard to say.
yeah, wouldn't it, don't you think it would get in the way if you were still visually like hallucinating all the time? That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, that definitely would for sure.
Yeah. What's up, Demir? Yeah, dude.
Did we get another person? Oh, you can see the chat on
Yeah,
YouTube
in the
still.
chat.
Right on.
Yeah.
I'm from northern Canada, so I don't have super high bandwidth, so I've actually shut my screen off on my phone. I just periodically checking in. You got a really dope background with the mushrooms, dude.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this is actually built into Discord. I just like was messing with it and found it last night.
Yeah. I at first thought it was a tapestry.
Oh
That's
yeah.
the coolest tapestry ever. And then when I got on Discord, it's like crystal clear.
Yeah.
Nope, it's definitely CGI. It's moving.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I love it. Which part or like what city are you close to? I was in Canada like a couple weeks ago.
I guess if you're from the States, you'd probably know Toronto. That's a pretty big city that
Yeah.
I'm close to.
Nice.
Super nice as far as cities go, I guess. Like,
Yeah, dude. Canada was interesting. It was like an alternate dimension of the US that was like cleaner.
yeah.
Which is a very like that's a very American centric way to see something, you know, but like they are closely related anyway.
It's nice to hear, I guess, right? I mean,
Yeah, no. Canada was cool.
I'm not a huge fan of the cities. I live, like I said, kind of up north, so it's like I live on a lake. It's a bunch of trees
Nice.
and water and rocks that surround me.
Yeah, does the lake ever like totally freeze over?
Oh, she's frozen. I think it's like I don't know how much ice is, probably like a foot of ice.
Damn. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how you live in that much cold though, man. I guess you're
With
used
lots
to it.
of sweaters. Yeah, I guess you get acclimatized. I feel like if you get used to a cooler inside temperature when it's the same as if anyone skis or snowboards. If it's been -10, -15 degrees Celsius outside all winter, I'm sorry, I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit.
I don't either.
Cold. If it's
Yeah.
really cold all winter, and then it's about freezing, you have like a nice sunny day, people will be in like shorts and a t-shirt. But if it was freezing like 0 degrees or 32 Fahrenheit in the middle of the summer, people would have like a coat and snow pants on.
Sure, yeah.
So it's like acclimatized in what you get used to, and I think that's also maybe tie back into psychedelics. If you get really lost in the sauce, or like people, I think I read these trip stories online, like they take 10 grams of mushrooms or like 10 tabs of acid. I'm like, how lost is this person that they can take that much and feed like that? I'd be gone for a week.
Yeah.
They'd have to call Houston because we'd have a problem.
Yeah. Pretty much, dude.
Like, yeah, I just don't know. I hear these monstrous doses, and I'm thinking maybe it's a sensitivity that I've built up in the sense that like more has become less, Charmin style.
Yeah.
I think it's more about the intent. That you can put lots of gas in your car, but if you have no intent, you're just driving around in circles in a parking lot, you're gonna burn through that whole tank of gas. You can put 100 liters of gas in that car and go nowhere. But if you have the intent to drive from here to Florida, here being Canada, you can make it a long way in one go. Like if you have direction and purpose and intent, oh, baby.
Yeah. That is
I think
super-
it means more than the dose.
Yeah, I think that's super well said. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, you both of you seem like you're not lost in the sauce. I'm happy to report.
Feel good. Good news.
I don't know. Sometimes I do get pretty stoned and think I have wizard eyes, though.
Yeah.
Not lizard eyes, wizard eyes, definitely. And Adventure
Yeah.
Time quote that little stanky ass wizard eyes.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm familiar with that actually.
No Adventure Time fans in the chat.
I'm surface level.
Oh, fair enough. The big blue wizard at one point points out to the main character that he sees things that other people can't because he has wizard eyes.
Oh, okay.
So you said you had lizard eyes, but I got wizard eyes.
Lizard eyes meet wizard eyes. Yeah. My friend Amir just said, "Did you try Blue Willow on Discord? It's like Midjourney but free." That sounds cool. I don't know how to get to that though.
All those AI things are crazy.
Yeah. Did y'all see the Terrence McKenna?
Yes, Alan Watts
Alan
podcast.
Watts? Yeah.
What? I
Yeah.
sat there and watched. I was eating my breakfast. I just sat there like, huh?
Yeah.
No way.
Like,
This is new?
Alan. Yeah, it was on Josie Ken's channel.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
We can watch it right now if you want. 'Cause
Yeah, dude, throw it on for everybody, man. It was worth a
Right.
watch for people. It's good. That AI stuff's wild.
yeah, let's do it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh. Whoops! I just resetted my Discord. I guess. This is funny. It pulled up my Josie Ken's
True.
podcast notes. Okay, I need to get back to where I was. Okay, YouTube. All right, here we go. Okay, I didn't read that, but let's do it. Okay, Alan. Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our podcast today.
Can you guys see that and hear that? Here, is there a way to?
I guess it's
Huh?
on YouTube.
No, I'm doing it in the Discord. I just pressed pause and it was also quiet.
Oh, I see.
Let me see.
It's all good.
My guest today is Terrence McKenna.
I'm glad that I've already seen it. And
Yeah.
that it's being shared for other people to see. This is the greatest thing that AI brought me this morning was this podcast. I spent the rest of the morning watching some Donald Trump and Biden playing Dungeons
Oh,
and Dragons
yeah.
and stuff. It was a good hoot.
That's funny.
I was having a laugh. Man, if that's what AI is going to be used for, is to give me good laughs, no problems at all.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure that's going to be a big part of it. That's how it's going to win people's hearts. Okay. All right. Here we go.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our podcast today. My guest today is Terrence McKenna, a renowned philosopher and ethnobotanist. Terrence, it's great to have you here.
Thank you, Alan. It's an honor to be here.
Today we're going to be discussing a topic that's been on the minds of many people in the psychedelic community. Are the entities encountered in DMT experiences real or just products of the imagination?
Yes, that's a great topic. Personally, I believe that these entities are real. They exist in a parallel dimension that we can only access through altered states of consciousness.
Terrence, I must respectfully disagree. I believe that these entities are simply products of our imagination. They are archetypes that we've inherited from our cultural history.
But Alan, there's so much evidence to suggest that these entities are real. People from all over the world have had similar experiences, and they all report encountering the same beings.
That may be true, Terrence, but I believe that these experiences are subjective. They are shaped by our cultural and personal beliefs. And I believe that there's a danger in taking these experiences too literally.
But these entities have so much to teach us. They can help us understand the nature of reality and our place in the universe.
I agree that these experiences can be transformative, Terence, but I believe that we must be careful not to get lost in our own fantasies. We must maintain a healthy skepticism and critical thinking.
I see your point, Alan, but I believe that we can't dismiss these experiences just because they don't fit within our conventional understanding of reality.
I agree that we must be open-minded, Terence, but we must also be cautious. We must approach these experiences with humility and respect for the mysteries of life.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's a great note to end on.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for joining us today, Terence.
Thank you, Alan. It was a pleasure to be here.
I want to hear the last
I think
part.
that's a great
Alan wants
To approach these that we must be open.
ending of reality.
I agree that we must be open-minded, Terence, but we must also be cautious. We must approach these experiences with humility and respect for the mysteries of life.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. So this is going to be an increasingly normal part of our reality.
Yeah, right? What the heck?
There's a
Almost.
movie. What's up?
It almost feels like the simulation is closer than it should be. Or it should be. Who am I to say? But like it's closer. The future is here and we don't even know it. It's snuck right up.
Yeah, right. Like this is the stuff that is totally sci-fi movies are like made about this already. There's a movie that had Alan Watts as like somebody's like smart home like AI or whatever, and
What?
she
But
like
the
falls.
voice is it.
It's like
The
wait,
voice
what?
is Alan Watts. The
Somebody-
voice is Alan Watts.
It's like his consciousness. It's meant to be like an AI.
What?
Yeah, it's like meant to be an AI like reconstruction of Alan Watts, and then this girl like falls in love with him.
What?
Yeah,
That's wild.
I forgot what the
Oh
movie
my
was
God.
called, but this is that. Like this is it's already becoming real.
Yeah.
and it's only gonna get more advanced. They'll be able to take like every single like minute of Alan Watts and Terrence McKenna talk and be able to like reconstruct a whole like brain in there, you know, eventually.
Mm.
Oh, they'll be taking our voices right now and we'll be sitting in some AI chat god podcast. I'll have the wizard eyes.
Yeah.
They'll be animating it.
Yeah.
I'll look like the guy from what's that crazy Netflix show? Everyone always told me I gotta watch Duncan Trussell because I'm just like him. And then he
Oh,
creates a goddamn podcast with a wizard. And they're like, yo.
There you go.
But I can't even remember the name of it. I liked it, but I can't remember the name.
Midnight Gospel?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh yeah. When you said podcast, I wasn't thinking of the show, but
I think it was a pod. He had a podcast, the audio, and then that was the audio for the show.
Right. Now I remember. It took me a second though. Yeah. Could you imagine like if there was like an AI chatbot version of this video like you said, but then they also include the scene where we're listening to that, so you get like you get an AI recreation of the AI Terrence. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what does it look like when it's even more watered
Yeah.
down? Like, it'd probably be a lot worse.
I think it'll get better very quickly. Like
Yeah.
How you feed the prompts to the, I don't know what Midjourney and DALL-E and all those. You feed the prompts to it, and once you've fed the prompts to it, very quickly it can narrow down and fine tune what you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think very quickly it will get better.
Yeah, I totally agree. So it's only a matter of time, man. I'm trying to see, how do I get out of this YouTube thing now? Oh.
Yeah. It makes me wonder if it is very much like the Mandelbrot fractal type thing where it's just like one inside of the next, and then the Big Bang kind of makes sense.
That red with the arrow, it's like a red circle with the rectangle.
That? No.
No, on the bottom. There's like a bottom. Do you see that? The bottom row of icons. See the red one?
The red one is the hang up.
Wait, try clicking it. I think you'll be good. Yeah, there you go.
This one?
I think you did it, honestly.
Oh, that's what I wanted to do. Okay. Cool. Yeah, I think. Oh, I hear a sound. What is that? Is somebody hopping in? I don't know. Well, there's also some more Tales from the Trip videos, but yeah.
I like how they do those, but I feel like the people who are explaining their trips either cut short or I don't know. Like to me, it seems very cut and dry. Or I'm just been listening to very, very like super deep trips. Like I've been listening to a lot of Vivek, another channel. And a lot of those trips are very, very like to me. Maybe I'm trying to scratch the itch, like of not tripping for a long time, and just kind of like cannabis is okay. It's an everyday driver, but it's not. You're not breaking orbit and flying to another dimension as far as the like what I'm hearing in those trips, and some of the ones in the Tales from the Trip don't really seem that. They seem more surface level, even though they've taken a huge dose sometimes. It seems like what I'm saying with the car and the gas. Like they take these huge doses with no real purpose in mind, and then they'd go nowhere. Even though it's a huge dose, they just have this crazy experience.
Yeah, just some like really wild shit happens. Yeah, they also edit those down to the fucking bare bones of it. Like,
oh really?
I mean, I imagine, yeah, the way that things are like cutting really quickly, it's like I don't know, they could have also written it like that, where it's like the highlight reel, you know, like where a Vivek or like some other trip report is going to be like very, very drawn out, and like at 8:52 I doubled my dose or whatever, you know.
You just get more of a picture, as to what happened, and usually it seems like the result is more, how do I put this, more like a mystical experience that they're looking for, or their reason for doing the thing is not usually just like to party and have fun, or you know.
Yeah, totally.
Interesting.
Totally. That does change like the outward result. Yeah, tripping with people is, I think, better for the low dose. I don't know, man. It's because it's like my last trip, I tripped so hard at one point that I was like, I need somebody that's on ground level right now, or you know, I
everybody needs a Houston.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and I was with my roommate, which his presence was like, it calmed me down, but he was also tripping balls too, and like nothing we would have said would have made any goddamn sense.
What is you taking?
It was 3 grams of lemon tech penis envy mushrooms.
Hot damn.
So
hot damn.
It was like powerful stuff. Yeah, that's
you're on like, whew, that's like almost heroic level.
I would
if you want to go by that.
Yeah,
or even above, really, like depending on how potent they were, like hot damn.
Yeah, that was
hot
like
damn.
That was beyond my 5 gram golden teacher experience. So I would definitely put it in that category.
Damn.
So I texted. There's this like hotline, if y'all have ever heard of it. It's called Fireside Project. It's a psychedelic hotline. So yeah,
it's a good shout out though.
Yeah. I wanted to try it because I found out about it and I told it to a friend, and she used it during her trip, and she said she just had a nice like text conversation with somebody, but that it was good. So I was like, I'll try it out, you know. And then so I texted the person, and I was basically saying like what I said verbatim earlier. I was like, I could use somebody that's on ground level right now. And But it was so hard to like talk though. That was the problem, man. Like I was staring at my phone for like a minute and a half,
Yeah.
just like trying to like be like, thank you, I am person. You know,
Oh
like
my
I was
gosh, yeah.
I was
Yeah.
so out of it that it just like it was almost impossible. So I feel like the more physical presence of someone being there is way more
Yeah, it's just
helpful.
it's there to then not say anything or do anything really, other than just like hold your hand and be there as a person on
Exactly.
ground level. Yeah,
Exactly. And I had someone like that during my first like big LSD trip that like changed my life. So yeah, it's interesting that like because there's such a physical side of taking these higher doses, you know what I mean? Like that I feel your body thinks it's under threat at first.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, I don't know, like I was getting these heavy like pillars of intense heaviness on the inside of my, like closing my eyes, it felt like my whole body like constricted, and it was like boom, like there was this fucking pillar of doom like inside my soul. And then I would be like, oh, I gotta keep breathing, I gotta like calm myself down. And
this is
then,
during the one with your roommate and on
yeah,
the penis
same
ending?
one. Yeah. I
Okay,
mentioned it
right on.
earlier.
I'm just trying to like picture you and your roommate in like some sort of house, like running around panic mode, and then you just like boom, on the floor getting pillared.
Yeah,
Ah,
dude.
damn.
It was so crazy. But yeah, the thing was cool. Like being able to text somebody, it feel nice, you know? But it was more of me just testing it out rather than like I think I actually really need this. But then when it came down to it, I'm glad that I had the idea because it was a little more intense than I had kind of bargained for.
That's pretty good though, because like I feel like maybe at some point they should just talk at you, just like positive messages, like "Hey, it's all good," and then like they could just lead the conversation until you reply. Because I noticed I couldn't. Moving was just such an obstacle. Any movement when I was just blasted.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
It was
so
interesting, yeah.
and then talking involves moving of your mouth. And so and that's not, yeah, dude. I felt so jumbled up during the peak too. Like it was just me and Kenny were trying to talk to each other and we were just babbling. Like we were saying words, but nothing was like landing. You know what I mean? It was just like we were saying different words that just weren't linking together. And it was
You're
just,
both on two totally different trips. One guy's in Bermuda and the other guy's in Siberia. And
Yeah.
they're both like, yo, the trees here, trees are like this. And then one guy's like describing a pine tree and the other guy's describing a palm tree.
yeah.
No one's getting any ground anywhere. And Houston's nowhere to be found.
Yeah. That's when you're lost in the sauce, dude.
Oh man.
Yeah.
You're both just on your experiences, and the planes went different directions, and you're trying to call each other on your phones and describe. It's just not working.
Right. And
I've had experiences like that. Group
Yeah.
experiences can go very south very quickly. I find, especially if many people are really, really like. Was he also on the same amount?
Yep. Same exact
Holy
strain,
crap!
same amount.
Sweet
Yeah.
baby Jesus.
So we were just babbling like confused cavemen.
Oh
And
yeah.
we thought we were making sense though, because it's like the revelations are happening inside your head, and so you think that you're like getting it across, but then it's just like lacking the coordination to just like string a sentence together, you know?
Dude. It's amazing to me that a lot of people, they have this like struggle to communicate. I've had very few trips in groups, but usually it's the struggle to, not the words, it's the meaning, or like that you can't understand. You're trying to like say something that can't be talked into existence.
Mm-hmm.
So like both of you are babbling nonsense because you're both trying to say something that's just not, I don't want to say ineffable, but for lack of a better word, yeah, just like something that cannot be talked into words.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then I've gotten used to that, like where I've like gained a little wisdom in that regard of like, I know that it's futile already to like try to convey it, but then you still you feel compelled to try, you know, in the moment.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like probably when the first person saw a shooting star, all they could do is point and just like kind of grunt. Not that like language hadn't been invented. Even if language has been invented, most of the time you see a shooting star, it's gone before you can. You're kind of like, ah.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
There's no the experience is changing. I find ever so fluidly that most of the time, or not most of the time, the very few times that I've been in a group experience, if anyone's trying to describe their experience, it leads to just almost pure chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, how did we get into this mess? Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's like the biggest group you've ever tripped in?
I think it would be 5.
Okay.
If it was me, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5.
Okay. Have you ever
So we were
tripped
all
at
at a
a
beat.
festival?
No, that's also something. So to me, that's like the biggest, most stimulating environment was just a group of 5 people, and we were just in a beach house. So it wasn't like we were even at the beach or in public. Most of my trips have been like solo in the forest.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so
That's
I found a lot of love that way. Yeah, it is the way to go, but at the same time, there's no lifeline in the sense that, like, I was probably a 5-minute kayak ride back to my house, but I still had to manage getting the kayak off the island into the water,
damn.
get in the water, get your life jacket on, paddle back. Like, you're not doing that when, like you said, you're running around trying to communicate to your roommate and babbling. I was on an island during one trip, and I was laying in a hammock, and 3 children, probably like 5 to 7 years of age, they came walking up, just kind of like meandering through the forest, and I could hear their voices far away, and they're like, someone's here. And I assumed that they were gnomes or something.
Oh my
and
God.
it was fucking the creepiest thing ever, because they didn't say anything when they walked up to me. They just like surrounded me and then just waited for me to look. So I heard breathing and like motion, so I looked, and one of the children had face paint on. They had come from like an event on the lake. And it looked like Captain Jack Sparrow. If we were on Joe Rogan, I could be like, yo, Jamie, pull this up. The one where he has like 3 eyes painted up his face. And this one kid who's looking at me has these like 6 eyes on his face. And I'm just like, probably mouth open. And he looks at me and he just goes, you're weird. What the? Like, I didn't curse at the little kids, but I literally just like probably just stood there with my mouth open, like sitting in the hammock, just like baffled as well. I was like, wow, this is the first full blown hallucination where it was like, there's 6 blinking eyes on that kid's face. Holy smokes. And then after they left, after probably like 2 to 5 minutes of asking me what I was doing, I was like, I'm camping here. And then they left me alone. Nice. I just kind of like the anxiety of the people talking to me and stuff wore off. And as I calmed down, the environment and the trees and the ground literally became a fractal carpet. And my vision and everything was replaced where I think I was on like 5 or 8 grams of just golden teacher. But such a dose that like I was working my way up the ladder, and this was like the highest. I was just kind of pushing my limit further and further and further. And this just kind of like humbled me to the point where if you get out past your thing with no trip sitter and no Houston to ground you, you truly are on your own. And there's I don't want to say scary things out there, but like experiences that can go really like they could have scared the crap out of me in all honesty, and I could have had a really bad trip.
Yeah.
It actually ended up going quite positively, and it was like a nice sunny day. So, but
yeah,
looking back on it, it could have gone very south very quickly.
Yeah, totally. Yeah,
and it's always nice to have the support there. It really is.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. It's just it's not common for us to do that, but based on what we know from experience and just like the research of it, having somebody who's on the ground, it does help. Because in a way, it assures you that like all the crazy stuff that you're experiencing is not the objective like reality that, you know what I mean? Like it feels like the room is imploding you know, oh, this person right here is sitting calmly, so like we
Mm.
must not be in an earthquake right now, or like the equivalent, the psychic
I
earthquake.
suppose. I think it's less that and more so when you get into the higher doses. Like I said, after the kids left, there was trees and moss and all that, but it literally turned into a fractal where waving my hand in front of my face, there's no visual contact with reality. So to know that your body is safe, like when you have a out of body experience and you're no longer kind of there, to know that like I don't want to say this a gruesome way, but like a bear's not eating you or something, something bad hasn't happened.
Uh-huh.
In that way, it's nice to know, like, on a large dose acid trip, I had a friend during the peak who was holding my hand, and I remember being like Voyager 1 kind of thing way out, but with this tether back to humanity.
Yeah.
But like holding someone's hand is huge. You need a Houston on the ground if you're going to go far out into space.
Yeah. Dude, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. I love how you described that.
Thanks, man.
Um,
The visuals are quite stunning on a lot of these psychedelics, and to recall them, I'm not quite sure how anyone could ever forget. And I think that's what I mean by like how you can't really get lost in the sauce. If you do start stacking up these experiences, I don't want to say they mean less, but they almost direct you back to spacing them out again because you need to process. There's so much that happens, and it's so visually stunning. Like the trip report that we just watched with Allison Gray and Alex Gray. I think a lot of the times, especially during solo trips or ones where you're in darkness, the visuals really, they have a chance to perform or like be undistracted.
Yeah.
Even with cannabis, as the other guy said, visuals can really be there.
Yeah, dude. It's so beautiful. That's, to me, one of the most fascinating parts about all the psychedelics is like the visuals that you get to see, and it's just so intricate and like compelling and emotional, and that's what's really getting me on this recent trip is like I'm going about my day, in baseline reality after having this like earth-shattering trip, and I'm still seeing the images in my head, you know what I mean? And I'm like seeing those visuals that I had in my memory, and I'm just like, this was the same reality that I'm in right now. And it's just, the dissonance is like, or it's rubbing up on the differences of the two realities are just like grinding at each other like tectonic plates in my head right now. It's
Do you mean that in a way of like synchronistic events, or
I mean it in a way that the contrast is like jarring and shaking me to my core. Like just how
the contrast
between baseline, like as I'm living throughout my day, between how this reality is versus like the memories that are going of that trip experience, like the difference between those two states of consciousness. It feels like two giant tectonic plates that are nothing alike, that are just like they're just like,
and somehow they're touching.
Yeah, right. It's like a given that they're attached, but just the difference between the two is really like jarring to me lately. Maybe it's because it's been such a long time since I really tripped like that. Like, I think that's the hardest I've tripped in like 10 years, man, since my initial like psychedelic experiences,
Is that the recent one you're just describing with the penis envy?
Yeah, that. Mm-hmm.
Damn. Earth shattering.
Yeah, dude.
It's a huge dose. If you hadn't done it in a while, that's a massive dose to jump back in at.
Yeah, exactly. I did 1.5 grams of penis NB lemon tech, but that was in July. So it felt like I was mentally building upon that previous dose, but like as far as tolerance and everything,
it was double though.
It was, yeah,
double.
Yeah.
Double.
I know.
Holy.
It was intense.
Yeah, I underestimated the same thing in the sense of like, well, it's only like a little bit more. In the sense of like, if you're looking at the portion size and you went from like 1.5 to 3. That's literally double. Holy.
Mm-hmm.
Same with the tabs of acid. When you're like, well, it's just like 1 to 2. Well, that's double.
Mm-hmm. It's
And
like,
then 2 to 3.
Yeah.
Well, that's 3 times. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. So I think that it very quickly gets undermined, or not undervalued, I guess is the right word. We're like, it's just a little bit more.
Yeah, right. That's
In
like,
retrospect, it's proportionally quite a lot more.
right, like Clindy Lee.
Oh yeah, Kilindi Iyi.
Yeah, Kalindi
I
E.
think that's right. I always struggle with his name. I love that guy,
Yeah,
man.
well,
Rest in peace, dude.
Yeah, that guy. It just, when I have such a experience at like 3 grams lemon tech, which
Oh,
is
yeah.
nothing to scoff at, but like when you think about what he was doing, like what, 20 grams, 50 grams, like,
I literally, like, I can barely understand what at 3 grams of penis envy would be like compared to, like, yeah,
it's just
unfathomable what he's trying to describe. Even what you're trying to describe, like, is almost probably impossible to put into words.
Yeah, dude. I was telling my like roommate that I felt like a lot of my trip with my eyes closed took place in like a orbital construction, an alien orbital construction yard. Whereas like imagine like big giant like rocks that are also like factory robots that can like build shit and weld shit, but it's like more rocks, but they're like these designed rocks that look very cool and like have technological utility. And yeah, dude. Oh, this was something else that happened during my trip, is that I listened to this Terrence McKenna video where he speaks in tongues. He does his little glossolalia thing.
Oh yeah.
Because one time I had a vision from listening to him, while on mushrooms. So I was like, I'm going to try that again. And so I did. And that's what I saw, is like, I saw like a very sophisticated looking space rock floating in orbit around the Earth. And I was like in space, in orbit, going around the Earth. And it was like this advanced like ship or like probe kind of thing that was made out of like asteroid. But it was this highly technological alien construction. And I was like, I was in the shipyard in other parts of that trip, like in the general vicinity where they create the ship. And I saw like the symbol for the Lorentz attractor, which is a great attractor. It's like a mathematical formula, but it creates this visual like black hole looking thing. And I saw one of those that was getting like created like by like rocks that could weld. Like, yeah, I'm just, how do you explain any of that stuff, dude?
Yeah, the visuals, that's insanity. Like, to me, I don't know where does it flow from? Where is this? Or is it literally like Terrence describes, which is kind of what I'm on, is that it's showing you stuff that it's seen. Like the spores of the fungus that you ingested give you the experiences that it has cataloged through its time.
Totally. That's
so
right. That's one of my theories on this, is like maybe that's why we see caterpillars and like insects in some mushroom trips, because like what if psilocybin originally evolved to be like a repellent or maybe an attractor for like insects to either eat it or not eat it, so what if the experience of like insects that ate these mushrooms and they were tripping balls, what if those are also like millions of years of those are also embedded into the mushroom experience? So that's why we get these like insect motifs.
Quite possible. And ayahuasca gives you jaguars and jungles and earth motifs because it's deeply ingrained in that kingdom. Yes. Whereas the fungus is in the insect kingdom and like the creepy crawlies and recyclers of the earth.
Yes, dude. Yes. I think, yeah, you nailed that.
It's interesting. And today I watched a video from Vivek. Sorry to shout him out again, but I mean, hell, like the trips all seem to interconnect, and it's building like a big picture in my head that, man, consciousness is really, it's like trying to communicate without words. It's speaking the universal language. shout out to the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. That's where that quote's from. The universal language that everything kind of speaks is like communicating without words. To me, I think that a lot of these things, the trip video that I saw today that I was just about to kind of reference, he said when you eat an orange, it's the spirit of the orange that like communicates the taste and like the experience of eating it. So maybe the fungus when you eat it, or cannabis when you smoke it, or like all these things have access to like their greater being that they can like kind of like channel through our faucet. Right back to the start of the stream, to the faucet metaphor, I guess. Like we're just like a window that light shines through.
Yeah.
And the universe has all these different things that we can kind of like pass through our faucet or like filter through our waters, kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm speaking nonsense.
No, this is the kind of it's speculation. We got to admit it's speculation, but this is the kind of like speculation that I would live for, because
hell yeah,
just the possibilities. That's all it is. Not committing to any of these ideas.
Yeah,
but
you don't believe it. It's Terrence talks.
Yeah.
Even if 1% of what I say is somewhat true or has some bullshit in it, I don't believe any of it. I'm just saying it because I don't know. It's flowing through my faucet.
Yeah,
Hell.
man.
Who knows, man?
I think the
We're all
best.
just the universe, as Jim Carrey says, experiencing itself.
Jim Carrey. Yeah, man.
Love Jim Carrey, man.
I think the best way to look at Terrence McKenna is as a like entertainer in a way. He's just kind of like he's putting on a show with his web weaving abilities. The way he can use words to connect all these various ideas together. That very few people have that level of articulation and like weaving webs together. Like he was creating true novelty.
I think everybody has it deep down, and he practiced it quite a bit, and he kept that conversation alive on something that no one else was really willing to be in the spotlight on.
Yeah.
Like he, I think, kind of just like took one for the team, realized that he got blackballed, or maybe just like I don't know, like he just took it upon himself, and it was like his mission.
Yeah. I'm not saying that nobody is capable of. I'm just saying, like, yeah, that was
we all
his
are
skill.
capable of. And I think the more we trip or the more we have experiences that force us, if you really want to try to communicate it to others, you really have to dig deep in language to try to pull forth some sort of, like, to describe like fractal geometry that's ever flowing and it's like effervescent and metallic and it's like pulsing in and out of itself, where it's like undulating and pulsing, and these reoccurring symbols that very, very, very early on in my journey, I remember kind of like seeing symbolisms that I was kind of like, what the heck? I keep seeing these recurring symbols that I haven't seen before. So I remember Googling and searching for symbols and finding out that these symbols were also then carved in stone like thousands of years ago. I'm like, so how is this possible?
What symbol was it?
How is it all connected? It was the flower of life, or like the pattern of life. And then the symbol that the Mayans use, or the Mayan sunstone or Aztec sunstone, I think it's called. It has like a big angry looking face in the middle, and a lot of like Aztec geometry around it. I remember those two being really prominent, along with I don't want to say the Jewish star, but the Merkaba, or like one triangle upside down and one triangle right side up, one being white and one being black, and they would rotate like the yin and the yang. And I remember seeing all this and just being like, it almost is like conveyed as some sort of knowledge that's in another space, like that you're tapping into, that maybe they also tapped into back then, like the Blue Lotus. That's why I asked that question, if you'd had the Blue Lotus tea before, because I know the Blue Lotus was pretty famous in Egyptian culture, or like they used the Blue Lotus, and they also drew the pattern of life and talked about a lot of the same stuff. So I wonder if tripping or like accessing that space through drugs, psychedelics, or meditation or something maybe shows us similar. Because after looking up the symbols, I was kind of baffled. I was like, what the heck?
Yeah, like
maybe I saw it in a movie or something.
Yeah.
the Mayan thing I could see, like, yeah, I saw it in a movie, but like the pattern or flower of life, I was like, there's no freaking way I was seeing. And it was like a grid that covered my vision, and then when I closed my eyes, it was like an orange and red pulsating vein structure that would like undulate. And I was like, and then I'd open my eyes and it would be like electric blue, the same pattern. I was like, that's crazy.
I've seen
and
electric
it's
blue.
not. Oh, really?
Yeah. And
I wonder the colors. What do the colors mean?
My theory is
like,
that
why the electric blue?
Yeah, I think I don't know exactly why, but I think it might be like we're reflecting on our own ability to see. Like, you know how you ever used Photoshop? You know how there's like RGB, red, green, blue. It's like the basic hues. I think our eyes have these like cones that are like designated for colors, and there's only a few of them. Maybe it's green, blue, and red. And what we're seeing is like we're looking at our cone, or it's like our imagination is spinning off of the basic hardware that is used to perceive colors. And I don't know, man.
I see what you're saying, though. Like, do you have a plasma screen TV or like a flat screen TV?
Like,
anyone can do this right now. You can literally take your phone, turn your TV off, take your phone flashlight, turn your flashlight on, and point it at your TV, and it'll be like a rainbow of red, green, blue because of what you're saying.
Yeah,
like the TV has little pixels that emit red, green, and blues, and then so just like what you're saying is that like when I open my eyes, the electric blue, the light that comes in while my eye is open is filtered by like a blue cone. And then when I close my eyes, because my eyelid has like blood and stuff in it, and the sunlight was coming through it, makes it like a red or something. I don't know. I have no idea. But I know it works with your TV, and it like it's just bouncing off of the things that are there, the hardware that's there.
Yeah. Exactly, man. Exactly. So that's one idea, because I've gotten red, green, and blue like visuals, and the electric blue thing. It's interesting that you say that for seeing the symbol of the flower of life, because I saw a symbol for Rosicrucianism, which is an esoteric like occult group from and I saw the symbol of the rosy cross. It was like a fractal rose with a grid, like a perpendicular T going through the middle. And then it was electric blue, dude. So it's very similar.
Yeah, I wonder what the colors mean, in the sense that like certain things always have been certain colors for me. Like the black and white motif has been very popular in the, like I said, with the triangles and a yin yang type symbol where like two kind of spheres are rotating around each other, or two triangles are rotating inside each other, but they're always black and white. I just always wonder with the colors. What's with the colors?
Yeah, that's wild. I don't know, man. Yeah, we got some.
Hello.
It's Gary.
Hello.
What up, man?
What's up, man? I had to come join the party. This is awesome.
Oh, hold on. Your audio is a little wonky.
Oh, that's probably my end, man. One second.
How does it sound like that to you guys too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very digital.
Yeah, like
I think the mic thing wasn't plugged in all the way or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Sounded like half connected, like we're only getting like partial audio.
Oh, colors. I wanted to mention one more thing, man.
Right on.
The when I talk about seeing neon green in my other like hallucinations and stuff, somebody pointed out like that's your heart chakra, and they associate it with chakras. So I'm open to that.
I wondered if someone would touch on chakras. I'm like, no way. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I have a chakra painting that I did after one of my trips because I didn't know what the fuck chakras were, and I just saw this like same thing, like a rain, but like, you know how on like any cheap LED light you can get like that rainbow function? How it like cycles through the colors, or like I guess any rainbow thing will cycle through the colors. Well, I was like looking at stuff and everything was cycling through those colors, and I was like, what the fuck? Why is everything cycling through those colors? But when I closed my eyes, I could see like a DNA helix type thing with these spheres of color, and it would like rotate through these spheres. And I was like, and it was like this like rotational colored thing. I'm like, what the heck? Where, like, what
sounds
does it all
nuts.
mean? But then looking into like colored spheres, as soon as you type in colored spheres on Google, you get all sorts of hippie stuff about chakras and like tapestries. And
Yeah.
I was like, huh, maybe I should really start looking into this shit because these are definitely not just drugs.
Wow. Man,
But
that's wild.
really turned me on in the sense that, like, to me, I don't know if it's intentional or in the sense that, like, my intent was just, like, kind of show me what this is, in the sense that, like, you read reports online. Some people, like I said, they take huge amounts and they just, like, have I saw some colors and, like, felt funny.
Right.
And then other people, they take, like, a small amount and they meet God in the clouds or something. You're like, what the heck? I remember reading this one or seeing this one. The guy was playing guitar and he was outside with his dog, and he literally saw like a woman in the clouds, and he literally thought it was like some divine goddess in the clouds. And I'm like, so he literally saw stuff in the clouds, like it morphed a true hallucination for him on a very low dose, versus other people are taking 10 times what this guy is, and they just see like some funny colors.
Right, dude. I think me and Gary actually talked about that before. I think we came to the conclusion that like some people are primed for it, and in the sense they prime themselves, like because they're already on a path of like seeking by the time something like that happens. So
yeah, okay,
could
right
be.
on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, what's up? Nice and clear.
What's up?
You good?
Yeah, I just said in the beginning I had to come join the party, and I think what you're doing here is awesome.
Thanks,
So,
man. Yeah.
Yeah, I had to come join the
dude.
awesomeness.
Thanks for hopping in, man. You're looking like a Jedi master right now.
Oh, is he on
Yeah,
camera?
literally, this is a Jedi robe that I got.
Oh, nice.
So,
Literally
you
a
already know the
Jedi robe. Cool.
Right on, dude.
But yeah, it's all about the foundation, man. I feel like, set and setting, we all know that. It's all about what you bring to the experience. And it doesn't mean you know what you're going to get, but I think it's like if you go in with a solid foundation, you're going to get like a solid trip. You know what I mean? It doesn't mean you know what the trip's going to be, but I think it's like how profound it could be to you. It's just about like how you respect it and how you respect the substance and the whole experience. You know what I mean? It doesn't really matter so much how much you take. It's really about the situation that you take it in and how you feel yourself.
There's also a lot of times where even when you don't have all those intentions, like for a lot of us when we're starting out, and where it just so happens you accidentally get this profound result that it does turn you on and you like get on the path following that experience. But like, why does that happen? It's accidental, like spiritual encounters. Like, why does that happen? Like, what are all the triggers or like prerequisites necessary for that to happen versus like, yeah, you saw colors and like laughed your ass off, which is also fun too, but it's a different beast.
Yeah. I don't think we have the answer to it, man. I think it's just a divine mystery. And I think that's what the psychedelics do, because there's so much subjectivity that the psychedelics do to us. But my trip is so much different from yours, and there's just too much data, I guess you could say, to really reach a conclusion on what these things do. And ultimately, if you really want to sum it up, I think what they do is just enable us to see a little bit more than the confines of our body and our five senses. If you really want to sum it up, it opens us up to some kind of grand divine mystery. And however you want to label that, whatever colors, whatever creatures or entities you see in the trip, that's most likely going to be your subjective experience. There is some kind of objectivity to it, though, that we can come to, but mostly I feel like it's a grand subjective mystery that they present to us.
Or we could be convinced, I'm just joking by the way in advance, we could be convinced that like whoever entity we saw is like the one true entity, and we start like competing psychedelic religion denominations, and like I'm from the school of Cosmic Caterpillar Mothership on mushroom. That's the one true entity, bro.
They'll start measuring their gods and goddesses against each other. Mine's better than yours.
I mean, think about it, man. If the current religions that we have today are a result from psychedelic experiences, which I think there's a good argument for that, then that's literally what's happening with the Crusades or what's going on in Israel. It's just people fighting over their psychedelic experiences. You know,
Whoa.
it's not
Yeah,
like
I saw
literally.
this guy. You gotta
Go ahead,
believe
sorry.
too.
Yeah, yeah.
Checkmate.
That's funny.
Yeah. But I think it's what's happening is like they're fighting over other people's psychedelics interpretations, right? Like, so a lot of these religions of the day is they're just taking people's word for it that tripped thousands of years ago and they turned into stories. But if they actually tripped themselves, they'd probably have a little bit different interpretation of it. You know what I'm getting at?
Yeah, totally. That makes sense. Could you, dude, and could you imagine, like, these experiences are so strange to us, and we've seen, like, how strange our normal reality can be, you know, especially with the internet, like, things are just breaking down. But, like, imagine back in the day being one of those people and, like, how intensely strange these things must have been for 2,000 year ago people.
That's so true. Yeah, because if we go off the topic of it's what you bring to the psychedelic experience, what did these people bring? They brought a whole different world into the psychedelic.
Yeah, exactly.
So
It's no wonder why they've labeled it gods and goddesses. Like they literally had no other word or language to describe what they were seeing. They're like, the tree started talking. It was a god.
Yeah. Dude, for real. And then when I talked to Josie, she mentioned like that, like now that we're modern humans, we are bringing a new kind of worldview into the psychedelic experience. So like cosmic consciousness may not have always been as cosmic as it is for us, because we have a modern day understanding that there's multiple galaxies, the universe is like expanding, blah blah blah. So we may perceive
Consciousness is involved.
Right. So that might be why we get spacey consciousness. But I would like to believe or speculate that a caveman, a primordial human 1 million years ago would have taken mushrooms and like been blasted into cosmic consciousness and like seen galaxies and like seen the reality of it. I don't know. I like to think of that.
Same as us.
Yeah.
Like they would see the same as us. They would see those same welding rocks.
Yes.
Just to throw back to your experience earlier. They would see that exact same scene, like 4K, the exact same.
Yeah.
They'd come back and they'd be like, "Ooga boonga," to his friend. Like they would have no way to communicate that whatsoever.
Exactly.
Ooga boonga saw big rocks welding. Like they have no clue. But then as we've progressed through and like evolved consciously on like this reality plane through many generations of seeing crazy shit like that and trying to describe it, maybe we've like evolved slowly here because of what's over there. I don't know. We keep touching a place that pulls us, like Terrence talks about, like an attractor. Maybe it's the thing that's like pulling us through time and history and making us become what we're.
Dude,
who knows?
Yeah, you're describing stoned ape theory pretty much. That's the basis behind stoned ape theory, is that it allowed.
But what's it pulling us towards? Like a gray alien? What the heck? We'd be flying around in
at the end of
disc.
time, man.
Yeah.
Hot damn.
I think it's
goddamn.
It's probably bigger than we can imagine, and even maybe imagine
That's true.
for the aliens. What if it's even bigger than what they can perceive?
That's true.
You know,
that's true.
So we're
all
just know
again. It's like
pointing.
the Mandelbrot thing, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Swear, it just keeps like it goes in or out no matter which direction you follow it. Like to any direction. Like you just said, the aliens above them, they look at it and the mystery is just like ineffable to them because they know more than us. But we looking at them are like, oh my god, they can fly in a disc.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. And your dog probably looks at you and is like, holy crap, he flies around in a metal thing with wheels.
Yes.
He's a god. And he feeds me.
He's a gracious god.
Yeah, no. Yeah. He's a just but fair lord. Yeah, no, it's interesting when I think about. I always wonder about like ancient times, were they tripping balls and like if I see the, like I said, like the flower of life, it was so evident, like electric blue, then like pulsating vein. I'm like, yeah, you could just like pause for 10 minutes and paint this. But what if they did? Like back in the day, someone had enough time to carve it into stone.
Yeah.
All over the world.
Yeah, for sure. I think the Mayans definitely did that with their like the reliefs that they, those little spiral patterns that the Mayans do.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
I do
that
pottery, and my dad's always telling me, he's like, your stuff looks very Aztec or Mayan. I'm like,
yeah.
you have no idea. Eat some of these, you'll see.
Oh yeah, didn't you post some pottery in the Discord at one point? Wasn't that yours?
A few times I posted some little mushrooms I had that I'd made. They're just like put in a planter, but I might have put some other stuff.
Okay. Yeah, your stuff is
I was
sick.
just getting started.
Dude, nice.
But yeah.
I love
I've
it.
carved a bunch of planter pots up now, and I'm getting rolling. So hopefully,
Nice. Yeah.
hopefully we'll see.
Art is like super important in all of this conversation too, because I one of the other things that was highlighted to me in my trip was my recent trip was that music, which is my preferred art form, but I think this can apply to anything. Music is our own little slice of space-time Play-Doh that we get to manipulate. It's like our own little malleable piece of earth and space-time and consciousness all infused into one. And I was trying to like further pursue this idea of like the philosopher's stone, and it was like the mushroom was showing me like you can make your own little space-time pottery basically, and I was seeing the texture of music in a synesthetic way where I could see it as this like object in my hands that was like this diamond of space-time that was mine to like fold and like push in here and mold like a malleable piece of clay. And so I think everyone needs their own version of that, like art, their own way to manipulate space-time into their own consciousness, a reflection of their own mental inner space.
Yeah, man. To create, just the simple act of creation.
Mm-hmm.
So important.
It is very important.
Yeah,
I feel like that's why the world's going crazy, is because we're all forced to go and create someone else's dream day in and day out, and we haven't really taken time to sit down. If everyone was just given, like you said, no one really likes art until they've done it, or no one really likes what they're passionate at until they've done it. But most people are too busy just doing their daily grind that it really gets to fall in love with. Like before doing pottery, and like I always was kind of into art, but you kind of got to set aside to really immerse yourself in something. You really have to set aside everything else.
Yeah.
And same with music. Like I'm sure like you can't really be fully immersed in music on a weeknight. You got work the next day, or like, you got all these other duties. You have a very small amount of time to focus versus on a weekend when you have time to yourself and you have the whole day to just like get into the groove and like the flow state and really create something from a place of soul.
Totally.
Amen to that, man.
Yeah. We gotta squeeze it in somehow. I'll pencil you in for now. I'll just have to pencil it into the agenda. The divine art making process is just gonna have to wait because I got bills to pay.
Hell no, man. You gotta make time for soul.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and tripping is a good time to do that too, because like, I was feeling like I'm celebrating this kind of victory lap in my life right now, and the trip was like a microcosm of that, like a celebration of what happened in life recently, like this tour that I got back from, and it just felt like I was telling my roommate, I was like, we don't really sit to reflect on our victories a lot. They say don't let yourself get too high or too low, but like I think because victories in life come so fleetingly, you might as well like take the victory and like reflect on it and just kind of like rest in the lotus position on the top of this mountain that you've just climbed and enjoy the view for a second, and then you can move on. But like we don't take enough time because we're so busy in the rat race that we don't get to like, and to me that is a soul refining activity, to be able to like absorb a nice view from the vista that you're on.
And just take a minute and let that victory be like the wind in your sails, and then you know like fill you up or like don't blow air up your own ass kind of thing. But definitely let it be the wind in your sails.
Exactly.
Let it propel you.
Exactly, man. Perfectly said. Perfectly. What's up, Gary?
Chilling, man. Glad to be here. How was your tour, by the way? Like, what did you do? Did you perform with your band at certain clubs around the country?
Yeah, basically had a show every night, and just drove from town to town across the U.S. We went into Canada too, and it was a blast, man. It was crazy.
That's a psychedelic experience.
Yeah. Plus, this band is like one of the most psychedelic bands that I can think of right now, Vinyl Williams, and they do like 3D projected worlds like while we're playing the show, like on a projector screen, and it's just it was a great time to meet other like-minded people. You know, I met another musician on the tour who his band is called Phase Materia, and whenever I heard that, I was like, that's a cool name, because Prima Materia is the name of the first stage of like alchemy, and so turns out he was all into that, and like and then he told me his story of like tripping on mushrooms and seeing a UFO, and then the next day I asked him like if I could record it, and then that was my recent post of it's like a guest trip report of him describing his UFO experience on mushrooms. And
I saw that one. That was good.
Yeah, so that was one of the really cool parts. And then the other band members are all like, you know, people who are like true psychonauts and explorers and stuff. So it was just really cool to be the most psychedelic version of myself and like feel very comfortable about it and feel like I was in a supportive network that like amplified that even further. So that was a very nice feeling. Yeah, it was. And then traveling itself is super psychedelic, man. Just getting to see the way the landscape changes and how humans are pretty much the same everywhere you go. You know, like for good,
Super
for better
nice.
and worse.
Yeah.
It's humbling to see that. You're like, man, they ain't so different. And like, why are we all fighting? The hell? I haven't traveled that much, but just from talking to people, you can tell that no matter where they're from, the accent they have, what they look like or don't look like, seeing them or not, they're all the same.
Totally.
Like,
We're all the
it's
same.
wild.
Man. We're all the same.
Yep.
We're all the same, but all different. Like,
Right.
it's wild that people are like, oh, it's so heartbreaking. I'm like, dude, if you can feel heartbreak and sadness, everyone can feel that same thing. It's not like you can feel it more than someone else. Like, what the hell? If we can all feel happiness and joy, those people are like, it was the most blissful thing ever. You're like, all right, man. So it was like a 10 out of 10. I've been there. We're good. I feel you. It's interesting how I think we kind of separate ourselves, or we want to think we're so different or something.
Yeah. I feel like it's a muscle.
We're just caught in our differences.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Because there are differences, right? And so we can fixate on those to the point where, we forget that there's so many things that are exactly the same about us.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely an issue. But and I feel like it's also a muscle that doesn't come like normally, like to be able, because consciousness is so complex and we're already like so caught up in our own worlds that it's like to empathize with another person is like to include a whole nother hit of acid in your dose. It's like that's a whole other consciousness you're trying to like accept in your space. I don't know if this is making sense, but it's like it's a whole
Good
other
sauce
being.
to get lost in.
Yeah.
You'd be taking a lot of hits every day.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I know what you're saying though. Every time you come across a person, you kind of have to take on, like, if they're having a bad day, you gotta like take on that bad trip, and like you either gotta zen them out or like just kind of cope with the fact that you have an unhappy sailor on your boat if you're taking all the people on that you're meeting.
Yeah.
Or you just gotta sit alone on that mountaintop.
Yeah. Be the crazy shaman in the waterfall.
Or in the middle of the Canadian woods. Yeah, no,
You
it's
still
good though. I think that nowadays, I mean, most people would probably go crazy if were told they had to go like spend some time in isolation away from civilization and stuff. But I almost am seeing it as like a nice blessing or like a very unique opportunity that it's kind of hard to come by nowadays to get away from civilization. I really get that.
true.
Yeah.
Especially as a young person, I guess. Like you're usually taking like people will take like a retreat to a monastery to get real isolation away from things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Would you ever do like one of those silence retreats?
I do them all the time here, man. Like there's certain times from like New Year. I came back from my buddies that were like down closer to Toronto. After New Year's, I came back and I did like till middle of February, so probably just over a month and a half of like I realized at a certain point that I really hadn't talked to anyone. I was like, oh fuck. And then I was talking to somebody and I was like, oh yeah. It's like the first time I've really said anything. Like there's no reason to talk if you're by yourself. You kind of like, and that's also, you kind of notice your self chatter or your self talk a lot more, or you become more aware, I guess.
Wow. How did you pull that
It's interesting.
off? How did you pull off like a month and a half not talking to anybody? Because I almost feel like being involved in the world, that's actually difficult. So how did you get
There's no one here though. There's no one here, so my parents are snowbirds and we live up in like the Canadian, like northern Canadian, so they go down south to Florida and they're chilling down there and I'm left up here looking after the place. Well, you've seen all the snow that everyone's been getting. So like when it snowed, I was like, yeah, I accept my fate. We're good. The snow's here. I'll stay. And just enjoyed it. But so there was no one able to visit really, in the sense that like even if my friends wanted to come visit, unless they had a great big 4x4 truck, the roads weren't very passable and it wasn't a good time to come visit. So like I just kind of had to accept the fact that I was just going to be chilling for a bit. So
Yeah, you had the internet, right?
yeah, but at the same point in time, like you're not, like I wasn't on Discord chatting and stuff. Like I think I have 50 gigs per month. So like right now I got lots left. The month rolls over soon. We're good. We're having like a little bit of end of the month. Like you said, we got to join the party.
Yeah.
Picture
Well,
But
that,
yeah.
though, without the internet and you don't have any access to the outside world, whether you are in Discord or not, or you're there's nothing. It's just you. Like
It's interesting. For a month and a half, I think for like even if you did an experiment, take 10 people off the street instead of a week and just said just you. Like we're watching you with fucking drones and the best heat-seeking equipment, make sure you're not going to die. We'll drop you food and you just hang out in the wilderness for a week by yourself. It would change people to their core.
Oh yeah.
More than any psychedelic. Like you think like what you said about like having a trip sitter and like, you got Houston on the ground. I mean, it's great and all, but if you're out in the wilderness and you get lonely and you realize, hey, for the next, what did I say, a week? The next 6 days, like there ain't nobody I can talk to about my woes or, you know, it's just you. You gotta like you become real comfortable and really aware of kind of like who you are. And if you find yourself real quick, like when they say Buddha went out, found himself, sure as fuck he did. Like if you're in a bumbling palace all day, and I think he was 29 years old or something, which is ironically I think how old I am when he left the palace. And he leaves the palace and he goes out in the world and like he immediately understands that like the world is much different and very much more chaotic than the palace, and very quickly he just like distances himself trying to figuring out how to like get away from suffering or like fix suffering. Well, alone in the woods is how he found it, like under a tree by himself, just chilling. And it's like the shamanic practice almost. And when I started reading into it, like I said, it almost kind of happened by chance. Like I started having these experiences and we moved up here and then I was like, whoa, no way. All these patterns and like everything's kind of interconnected and like, how is more people not like tuned in? Oh yeah, they are actually. Here they are. And then, I mean, researching it, the shamans way back in the day, they're probably doing the same thing. They probably had a lovely mushroom experience, tried to explain it to the tribe, and the tribe was like, you're crazy as fuck, get out of here.
I'm on the outside.
So then he lived, Yeah, and he lives at the outside of town, but he's super wise because he's just tripping balls all the time. He's like, see, we all get old and die, but it's nothing to fear. See, the trees lose their leaves every year, good children. And everyone's like, wow, he speaks such wisdom, but he's crazy as a loon.
Yeah. Ultimately, this path, whatever you want to call it, the psychedelic journey, it has to be traveled by yourself. And I mean, you can take trips with other people, yeah, and understand that. And sometimes the trips coincide with each other, but ultimately, it's a path that you have to travel solely. Whether you do it like Buddha did it, or whether you do it with 5 grams of mushrooms in the darkness, it's ultimately has to be done by yourself. And I think that's a powerful thing. You know, it's a powerful lesson for all of us. But thankfully, we can talk about it and find the others and relate to each other's experiences in that. But at the end of the day, man, nobody's going to do it for you. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It only shows you the possibilities.
Yeah, the network is there for as support system and a way to connect ideas, and like we can help illuminate certain things for each other. But like the main part of the journey is like up to you alone. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like there's definitely a role for other people.
Yeah.
I think it's important training almost, in the sense that I love all the pop culture references, or how well, again, whoever's writing all this stuff in Hollywood, they definitely be tripping too. Like whoever wrote the Disney movie Soul, if you've seen that, they definitely know what's up, or like someone's tuned in on something there. Because to me, that's almost, in the death and rebirth experiences that I've had through psychedelics, that's almost how it feels, in the sense that we're a little soul that carries some wisdom with us, whether we like it or not. But I feel like they've got a lot of people tricked up on material objects, and the people who choose to, as Terence McKenna put it, live long enough to figure out that the BMW is not worth having, and that politicians are grab-tailing weasels, and that it's just a game that they're playing, and that there's something else to be had. That like you start seeking real knowledge, and and I've been called an old soul quite a few times, and I kind of chuckled at it when I first started hearing it. And then I started tripping, and I was like, holy crap, maybe they're onto something here. Maybe we carry the knowledge with us. Maybe we've been the shamans and teachers and healers since the beginning of times, and we just keep coming back and trying to find more people.
Right. Or if you identify on the level of being star stuff, then in that sense we're billions of years old, and we do have the wisdom of all of evolution. It's like in an unconscious state inside of our atoms.
That's a whole nother bag of beans. Holy yeah. That means that everyone, no matter who they are at any point in time, has the capability to flip a switch and remember everything in the cosmos that has ever happened and ever will happen. Because we're all one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you want that? Would you want to flip the switch and know everything? I don't know.
That's I already haven't.
Let's just try it out.
Yeah.
Where's the switch?
You know what's interesting is like there's like a oneness to that, right? We are all one almost, and that's related to finding the others, right? I would assume.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, whenever you're making art, it's kind of, and like, you can almost see yourself in somebody else's art sometimes, or somebody else's art in their art. Like, oh, that looks kind of like a, and then maybe even music too, right? Oh, that sounds kind of like a, and then maybe that's you identifying a connection that they have with someone else, per se, and maybe even seeing that connection is identifying yourself with it too.
Yeah, just like a mirror. What you look at, or us talking right now, is a mirror.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of we're reflecting each other to each other, and we're reflecting. And it's weird, yeah. Like people will know parts of you better than you do sometimes, just because of like how you're reflecting to them. I don't know. Have you ever found it interesting when you trip with other people and they tell you something like, for example, someone told me I had a purple aura one time when we were tripping, and I'm like, I want to know
What does it smell like?
Yeah. I'm like, I want to know what is that? It's like, is that my vibe or what? You know?
You have like a lavender smell, like a lavender fragrance coming on. You got like this purple haze.
Yeah.
You smell like the dankest of bud. You're just like got
Ooh.
this purple glow with the good smell.
Hell yeah, dude. I hope so. Let's hope so.
Yeah, right.
I'll hit the digital weed for that.
Digital weed. I've never
Oh fuck
heard that
yeah!
before.
I've been
That's
sitting here
funny.
chatting. I got a B1 cannabis hardware flower vaporizer. If anyone knows what that is.
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh hell yeah! I feel like I don't have the computing power. Someone's got the Google power to pull that up.
All right. B1.
Cannabis hardware.
Cannabis hardware.
Digital weed though, that's a good one. I've never heard that
Yeah, it's
before.
not an original. I heard somebody say it, but I'm officially adopting it.
At first, I was confused with what he said, and then I realized I was like, I remember the pen at the start of the episode.
Yeah.
Cheers, cheers.
So regular weed is acoustic weed.
Acoustic weed.
Okay. So
Yeah, man, it's
it's
literally
this
just like
little
an
ring.
e-nail type setup.
So I'm looking at the little ring. It's like a little coil ring
Yeah, man.
thing.
It's like a titanium head, and you got an e-nail type thing that
Okay.
you normally would see on a quartz banger, and you're basically pulling air through that head into the cannabis in the glass bowl there, and
Oh,
vaporize
okay.
it that way.
I see. Okay. So it's like a sophisticated bong piece.
I suppose it's. I used to have a volcano. I lost the end of my finger. I used to be an arborist for trade.
Whoa.
Lost the end of my finger and ended up, needing something. So, and I already had been using cannabis, and I had always preached it to older people for, it's good for your back pain, or it's good for your pain. And being a young person, what did I know? I wasn't in any pain.
Yeah.
Well, then I found myself in some pain, and I came home that night, and I had no pain medication in the house because we're, good upstanding family who has that shit laying around. So I sat down. I was like, "Oh, do I try to use cannabis for pain? Like, what? It's worth a try." One volcano bag, boom, gone. It was like magic. I was blown away.
Nice.
So I upgraded from the volcano to this, and I will say it's even better than my volcano.
Oh, nice. I'm glad that helped with your pain, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you smoked the whole volcano bag to yourself?
Oh yeah. I mean, at that time, the end of my finger was completely gone. So
Yeah, that'll do the trick. That's pretty intense, man. For anyone that doesn't know any better, a volcano bag. I mean, I feel like all you need is a few puffs. For me, at least. But hey, if it works, man.
Yeah. I wonder what
I do also think that. Sorry.
What's the transfer rate of a full volcano bag? Like, how many joints? Is that?
I mean, I also think if there's any medical patients out there, by the time you end up using it daily, there's definitely a tolerance that builds up. Most people are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I said, I used to preach to all the old people. It's good for pain. None of them ever shoved my foot in my mouth and said, like, "Little Sonny, what do you know about pain? Young whippersnapper, you're in good shape. What do you know?" But yeah, it definitely very interesting. And again, like I can't see names, but the person who's also in the chat here with no camera on that was chatting earlier said that they get closed eye visuals from cannabis after psychedelic trips. I'd love to know the connection. Like, is the gateway opened and now that's just like a little side route we can just have a Mary Jane will just sneak up the pathway to Mordor? Or how's that work? The secret back way. And again, the closed eye visuals only started after that. I never used to have them when I first started smoking.
Yeah, same. I think, that's, I don't know how you could officially explain that, but yeah, I'd like to think the door is now open and, maybe you your sensors have been tuned, like there's some kind of internal like sensor system that is all of a sudden online, and it's like, oh, there's this current that we can tap into and pay attention to, and it's always going, but only certain states of mind can bring it out. And yeah, because the same thing happened to me, like where LSD activated like very intense closed-eyed visuals for cannabis. So it's a mystery, but a really interesting one.
I think that's generally what psychedelics do, man. It's just enable us to make neural connections that we weren't able to before, generally speaking. Whether it's through the closed eye visuals or other kinds of connections that we weren't able to. For some reason, the brain just wasn't able to connect them, but then when we have the chemical induction of whatever the molecule is, it's like a key that unlocks that connection between two things, and then, you know, your brain changes from essentially.
Yeah.
If you look at it like a
Oh, and then it's just like, it's definitely like, what was that boat paradox or the boat metaphor you used earlier? You rebuild the whole boat, every single plank. Is it still the same boat? What was the name of that?
I think it's the Ship of Theseus or something like that.
Ship of Theseus.
Might be
So that's basically what happens with your brain. Like you said, it creates all these new pathways, rebuilds the thing. Is it still the same brain? Maybe that's the whole death and rebirth thing. And like it built over the old you. It's like, sorry, bro, the old you is garbage. We just gotta rewrite that code.
Yeah. Yeah, our whole bodies are like that, right? Like your bones, your cells are always being replaced.
Every 35 days.
So
yeah, I mean, what do you say is you? You know, like what would you say is you? Say it's your body.
The thing that's inside of you. Your body is the vehicle. The body. So as an arborist going through school, I had started the whole mushroom journey thing, and I really was interested in trees. And like what I thought before was like, is it an inanimate object? It's alive, you know. Shouldn't you cut it down for no reason? Now I looked at it as something that was almost like a sentient life force that had wisdom, and each species had different wisdom.
Interesting.
And like learning how the Japanese felt about trees, they have a lot about like chi and energy and stuff. And then I liked mushrooms and fungus and found them fascinating, and why only certain mushrooms, for example, the reishi mushroom, will only grow on hemlock trees in our area. Is the reishi ganoderma. There's also other species that will grow on specific other trees, but only certain species of trees will grow certain species of mushrooms. It's like they have a relationship. And the Japanese think it has something to do with the type of chi that the tree harbors, or like picture like why certain animals eat other animals, because they need that energy or that life force or something, to do with like a turkey tail mushroom will harvest many different types because it's more capable of converting a wider variety of energy into itself, so then you can consume it and gain a wider variety of benefits from it, or something. It's like a distiller of energy. And I became just fascinated with this, how the energy isn't the thing. The tree is just the structure that houses the energy. Or like the termites build the mound, but the termites just live inside the little. We live in houses, but we're not the house. So like we build the body by eating things and consuming and like sleeping and working out and stuff, but we're just the thing inside of it.
Yeah.
And I saw a quote and it said, "Take care of your body, for if you don't, what shall you live in?" I'm like, damn, yeah, like, yeah. If you don't eat, like, you are what you eat. If you don't eat good food, then you won't be good. Like, you'll feel crappy and sluggish, and if you eat donuts, you'll feel like a doughboy.
Yeah, man. That's pretty powerful.
Wow.
Yeah, when you put it that way, man, it's like, yeah, we are just in this body. In this body, what, like you said, it does recycle. Like, the atoms aren't the same atoms that when I was a baby. So it's just like it is me, but me is really inside of what this vehicle is. You know?
Me is like a concept to keep us grounded. We build like a Houston. We build like a Houston that we can contact called our body. We're like, yeah, this is me, bro. We walk around. This is me. I touch my face. I'm real. But really, the thing that it's like, I think it's Alan Watts is like, what's the color of your eyes? Like when you close your eyes, or like not the physical eye, like your mind, or the back of, what's the color of your head? What do you look like? And you're not black. It's like not a color. Nothing and everything.
Yeah.
It's strange.
And then what is the animating force that is the real thing that is underneath? I personally feel that it
That's
is.
the force.
Yeah, I think I like to call it Shakti.
With the force.
I like to call the
Okay,
force
right on.
Shakti. It's
Is
to
that
me,
that's Indian?
yeah, it's,
Sorry to
it's
be-
like the animating like cosmic force basically, and it's a feminine version of the cosmic energy basically. And that's what I feel in touch with through my psychedelic use and meditations. And yeah, like how you said you had experiences and looked for things in the outside world to corroborate those experiences. That's what Shakti is to me. It's like the thing I've experienced as the animating like energy within us. And so that's what I think it is. I think that's the force.
It's the force. It's the Tao, man. It's the way.
Yeah, definitely the Tao.
Yeah.
It's interesting. After, like you said, I looked into all of it and started finding that pretty much every culture and every religion and everything around the world is all pointing to they're all pointing to the same moon. Yet we all look at the hand. We're all like, yo, bro, we got this book over here. It's called the Bible. You got to read this shit. Yo, what did it say? What's it getting at? And you read the Tao, it's like people get all hung up on like, oh, yo, go follow like number 80, get on page 82. That's what this says. But what is it getting at? Like,
Yeah,
what's
I
the
recommend
general? They're
this.
all pointing at it.
This book to everybody. It's called actually, what is it?
Oh,
It's
nice.
Jesus, Buddha, and Krishna, Lao Tzu, the parallel sayings, and it's exactly what you're getting at, man. The truth is the truth, and it depends on how you want to spice it up. But I recommend that book to everybody. It's by Richard Hooper.
That's a book full of homies.
Yeah,
Richard Kubrick.
That's the crew right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the squad. right
Hot
there.
damn, dude.
Yeah.
I remember doing pottery for like the first year I was down there. I go down there and I'm like, I get on the wheel, and I'm like, my mom's like, yeah, you're not doing the wheel. Well, get over here. Like, get out of the sports car. Come on. Go over here on the tricycle. And I sit down at the table, and we got like rollette clay and like start off the baby steps. I'm like, come on, like I'm ready to do like the full on. Let's do this. And then like a week goes by, and I've just done the baby steps, and I go and have this acid trip. And during the acid trip, I like have this mind blowing like vision of making like psychedelic birdhouses and like mugs and phases and like all this shit. I literally have like this like, it felt like I was like tapping into like 5,000 years ago, like all these people, primitive people making pots, right up to people in like space age shit. Like you said, like there was like AI helping me, robots helping me like chisel it out and stuff.
Dude,
and then I come back to reality, and I come down, and the guy who is supposed to like help me out on the wheel, he's like, so you ever done pottery before? I was like, nope.
Oh my god.
I sit down on the wheel, and boom, I throw this like crazy. He's like, dude, you're sandbagging me. I'm like, what's sandbagging mean? I'm so nervous. I feel like he can read my thoughts. I'm like looking at a mirror of myself like some alien. I'm like tripping out still, almost like just like scarred from this extremely intense experience I just had the day before. And he's like, are you all right? And I'm like almost crying because I just threw this thing. I'm like, I don't even know how I did that. Like it felt like magic. And at that point I was like, something inexplicable happens with these experiences.
Yeah.
But how do we get there? Like I said, I read the reports. People are like taking 10 times what I took. What the fuck? This guy, he's like, yeah, the couch looked funny. And then I sat out in the backyard and a squirrel hopped by and it was purple instead of green. And I was like, what? Okay, so that guy like had I was like on an alien planet talking to Martians getting abducted. Like the world ended. I saw through walls, died, reborn. Like I was like, what? I don't know. How does this... It makes no sense how one person can have an experience and they're like, oh, well, everyone has similar experiences. I'm like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like
Dude.
it totally blows my mind. I think that maybe, like I said earlier, that like everyone has a car and they all put gas in it, but what you choose to do with the car is up to you. Like some people go the distance, and other people just drift about in a parking lot and have some fun. I don't know.
Yeah, well
I
said.
don't know how it works, but
Drift on my way to the corner store.
I don't know, man.
Make it
It
fun.
also is interesting how some people start to seek or like delve deeper into it, and other people stay on the surface and just have repeated. This is my 15th experience of like just partying and like seeing fun colors.
Yeah.
Why do some people dig deep and other people aren't like baffled by the mystery at all? It's weird.
Yeah.
It's like they weren't chosen in a way, because it's like I feel like there's only so much. I know we talked about intention and what you bring to it, but sometimes I feel like it's just about the person you were born as and how it's going to affect your biochemistry in your brain. I think it's just some people it's more of a knack for them than it is for others.
Sure.
And it's out of our control.
Yeah, true.
I don't know, man.
Those curious cats can't be helped.
Or we're just some fucking nerds.
That's true. I mean,
It's probably
back in the day, why didn't everyone go off and become Buddha, Jesus, and Lao Tzu? Why didn't everyone wander off into the forest and try to become why did some people just like chill in the village and like make bread and get the fish and do their chores?
Right.
My mom always told me that when I was growing up, I was like, I'm never working at McDonald's. Like just like that is like beneath, like it's not happening. Beneath me almost. I like worked at a golf course and had to get up at 3:00 in the morning instead. Good trade-off. I saw the sunrise every morning. It was pretty good. But like to me, she always told me that there's a place in the world for everybody, and that like if everyone was made to be the president, or like if everyone was made to flip burgers, the world would be a terrible place. Like we're all different for a reason, and like you said, yeah, we're not all chosen, or I think we choose ourselves. We all appoint ourselves shamans and the outcasts, or I never was the popular kid growing up. Why should I start trying to be one now? Said Terrence. Like Terrence was a weird dude too. He was like the outcast, a self-appointed shaman. Like we're the people who always were kind of on the out part of town, or like we were always the wise and weird old soul that said shit that was way out of like when I was 5 I was saying stuff that was way out of league. I think I was like 6 years old and we flew to Vancouver and I asked, how can God be real? He'd fall out of the clouds. And my mom laughed at me.
Dude,
but like
I saw a 7-year-old kid when I worked at Space Center Houston. I was a tour guide at NASA, and a kid came from India, and he was 7 years old, and there was like a board where everyone got to like sign their name and write stuff, right? And this kid, his name was Siddhartha, by the way, like Buddha's name.
Yeah.
And
no way.
And he wrote on this like sheet where people were like saying Riley was here. He wrote, "Nothing can explain the cosmos and beyond."
Yeah, see shit like
years
that.
old,
like, what?
dude. Yeah.
Where's
Might
that
actually
dude
have
now?
been Buddha, yo. That might have been Buddha.
I don't know, man. Yeah.
It could have been, dude. No one's name is Siddhartha. You don't just get away with that tag.
Yeah.
What a handle.
I saw the kid write it too. Like I saw that
What
he
a
was just a
homie.
little kid. Yeah.
Did he look back and wink at you?
No.
No way.
Yeah.
That's so wicked.
Siddhartha, hello, I'm Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a great movie that I watched on YouTube. I think it's on YouTube. It was called Thus I Have Heard. And it's like a long cartoon that explained Buddha's whole kind of... That's like my exposure to that. Very unread. And I kind of like it that way in a sense that I also feel that the more I influence myself, even kind of having a little bit of a Christian upbringing, influence some of my trips, and I try to stay away from that because I don't want to be I want to be as little influenced as possible in a culture where, if that's even possible, in the sense that like
Yeah, right.
I don't want to be
Easy
too
said than done.
indoctrinated,
Right.
but also at the same time try to understand the imagery that seems to kind of pour through or out of these places. It's like where it's got to come from somewhere, and where are these people go, or where do we go, or where's that place?
Yeah, I think having a blank slate, but then investigating what comes up, as far as those symbols and stuff that you never thought of before, and then feeding your brain more of that. So it's like starting off with a blank slate, but then this is my approach at least. I just, once I get those motifs, and I purposely feed myself more of that to like kind of investigate further. But yeah, it wasn't something it wasn't like a self-fulfilling prophecy that I came up with. It was just kind of like that initial stage was unconscious.
Snowball starts rolling down the hill by itself.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like a snow donut, if you've ever seen those bad boys.
Snow donut?
Yeah. Dude, the last year that I worked, I had my injury at work. I was sitting in the back of the yard, and I like pointed over the one big pile of snow, or like it's normally during the summer, it's all gravel, down the side of this hill. See these things, I walk around, I'm like, yo, did someone start throwing snowballs down here? We go over, and there's literally a donut. And if you Google snow donut, they happen on like the sides of mountains. But it was just a steep enough slope that a piece of snow fell, created like a somersault effect, and then created literally a donut. There was like 6 or 7 of these things, and we all stood there. I was like tripping out seeing these things, and these other guys just dismissed it as some like mundane. They're like, yeah, whatever, bro. That's cool. All right, moving on. And I stood there for probably like 10 minutes. I was like, what? This is the coolest shit in the world. I was mind blown. I also think that psychedelics can renew a childlike creativity or like sense of awe in the world.
Yes.
Like to be in awe of something, I feel like adults have lost that quality. Or like they're like, yeah, whatever. Like seeing their reaction to it was just so. Yeah.
Traveling and psychedelics are the 2 best like antidotes for that.
Physically traveling and then astrally traveling.
And astral, yeah. Take your ass on a stroll to the astral plane. Well, guys, I'm getting sleepy, but I'm super glad that y'all could join for this chat and be part of the stream, man. It was super fun. I'm like super excited that this channel is like attracting minds and spirits such as yourselves. So I'm just excited for more of that shit, man.
Very much so.
Ditto.
I'm excited too. This was an honor to be here and speak with y'all. I think this was the first ever live stream you've done?
No, I've done like 2 before, but it was just very plain Jane. Like this is the first one I've had OBS where I can like integrate the Discord and like do more stuff with it. Yeah.
I think this is cool. I think this is a great addition to help find the others, like to actually talk with the others.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I want it right, exactly. I don't want to just keep making videos of me talking, even though I love telling stories. It's like that it has to include the other people. So yeah, let's do this more, man, for sure.
For sure.
And even like off of stream, I'm gonna try to like just hang out in the voice chat a little more. So good place to kick it.
Right on, yeah. Grow the community a little.
Yeah, for sure. Well, all right, everybody.
Been real.
Yep. We'll stay in touch.
Peace.
All right.
All right,
Peace.
guys.
Y'all.
Bye. Good night.